going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Heavy Metallurgy. It's Friday. Hope you all had a great week. We're on episode number 160. We just keep on trucking around here, don't we, Alan?
That we do. We keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking.
Right into Memorial Day weekend. Happy holiday, everybody.
Happy holiday. And hope you got a lot of good festivities planned, some picnics, some weenies burning on a grill somewhere, and a couple beers drank. That'll be a good weekend for sure.
Just taking it easy, relax, and enjoy kind of the official start of summer.
How was your week, Alan?
It's been pretty nice. We actually took the family for kind of a short vacation up to Pigeon Forge and hung out for a few days. Let the little guy run amok and do some fun stuff. We had nice weather for it for the most part. So, yeah, kind of a fast week because of that, getting back to town and catching up on everything. But no, we had a nice little kind of mini vacation. We got in and out before the weekend tourist traffic really started to hit Gatlinburg.
Right on.
Yeah, how you doing? You've got you've got special guest in your zip code right about now, do you not?
Yeah, I spent the day hanging out with Kellen from Killing for Company and his wife Corinne, who are in town. Kellen's here to run a marathon and hang out. So we spent the day walking around town, doing a minor strike of record shopping and eating some good food. I think we're going down to the big store, the big record store in Michigan here on Sunday, but we'll see how it pans out. Yeah, it's been good to see him. Good to see him. It's been
Good
since
deal.
Kentucky last year, and great people, good fun hang as always. But we've got an experiment tonight, and we have an awesome guest that is returning. Do you have something else you want to mention?
Oh, we've been adding our sort of new releases of the week list for folks. Didn't see a ton of new releases that we thought would interest folks coming out today on May 24th, 2024. I guess the big one is the new Rotting Christ album has dropped on Season of Mist. So if anybody's heard that, leave a comment. I'm interested in it. I've only heard a couple of the singles, but have not picked up the album. And if you know of any others that came out today that you think would interest the folks in the chat or people viewing it over the weekend, by all means, please leave a comment down below so folks know what things they might want to spend their money on if they're out shopping this holiday weekend. It seemed like just a pretty short list. Most of the names on the list, they weren't ones I felt like would really click with folks other than Rotting Christ. But hey, there's always some things coming out on labels that don't make these lists that get published online. So again, help folks fill in the blanks and know what to go shopping for.
Awesome.
That's it. That's all I got. One album.
Right on. Yep. Everybody, hey, I'm going to do my best to keep up with you tonight. I know it's not as many people. The Maryland Death Fest is going. Chris might be running the marathon too. I should be, but I've been trying to walk every day, and that has been a chore. So running.
Got to build up to it.
Yeah, you got to build up to it for sure. But and Devin, he wants to cheat. You're not going to cheat, buddy. Don't cheat. Anyway, let's get our guest out here. It is awesome to see this guy again. Lazerrus, Duane, welcome back to the show.
Duane. Oh, fellas, how you doing?
See ya. How have you been?
You too. Good. Well, busy, obviously, but yeah, doing okay, doing good. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite. I'm so glad to see you guys again. I'm glad to see the people in the chat: Frosty, James, Tim, Aaron, of course. Stefano, yeah, good to see you guys, man. So yeah, I've just been super busy. So the invite was exactly what I needed and what I needed to hear to, cut the cord from work.
We appreciate you taking the time. We know you've been really busy lately.
Yeah,
so definitely appreciate you hopping in and trying this one out. Even though it may have been a slightly painful topic for you to get prep for.
We'll get to that. And I was looking at some of the comments in the chat already, and I'm glad to see that apparently a lot of us were on the same page with this 80-minute theory. But we'll go there. Hey, Alex.
Hey, what's up, Nils? Hey, Mike. Lillehammer. Oh, you're up late. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you live.
Yes, good to see tons of folks filling into the chat. Appreciate y'all taking a little time. I know it's a holiday weekend and there are big festivals to go to and lots of beer to drink. So yeah, thanks for hanging out for a bit. Hopefully this will be fun. This is kind of a new angle for us to tackle a catalog from. Marty, do you want to explain it to folks?
Well, the way I was understanding it is we each make an 80-minute long mixtape or list of Iron Maiden songs They could be your favorites, just stuff you want to hear. And but then after that is set in stone and made, the idea is keeping it in the keep or reap frame of mind. You can't hear any other Iron Maiden ever again. Isn't that the kind of the thing? It's a keeper. It's a spin on the keep or reap thing, which you know.
Yeah. We're not challenging each other this time. We had to challenge ourselves to take the band's entire catalog and boil it down to 80 minutes. 80 minutes may seem like an odd length, but it's basically the length of one standard CD. So that was the idea, is you get, to pack one CD with Iron Maiden songs, but that's all that you get.
You've got 20 minutes to get on the ship to get to the island, and you have one CDR left that's blank. And you go, I forgot Maiden, and you throw it in. That's what you get, right?
That's what you get. Yes, exactly. There's nothing else. Space is at a premium. You do, the weight capacity has room for one CDR, not two.
Right.
We talked about doing it as two, because obviously Maiden's a legacy band with a huge catalog. And we just felt like 160 minutes worth might make it not that we'd fit everything into that, but it seemed like that would be pretty easy to get most of what we wanted into. We wouldn't have to sweat the ass. We're like, no, let's do this on hard mode and see if we can actually really sweat it out and boil it down to just one CD's length worth of material at 80 minutes.
Sorry, I got a new mouse and I hit a button that I didn't know what it did, and it actually killed the window. Anyway, hi.
Well, now we know, and knowing is half the battle.
Yeah.
Getting back online afterwards is the other half of the battle.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm surprised nobody yet has said, why not just take a flash drive? But,
if you're going to make this real, Duane, it's going to fall apart real fast.
There's a lot of holes in this concept. A lot of holes.
There really are. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, and just to address that though, the keep or reap thing, obviously it is just for fun. It's a way to, all of these are thought experiments for fun. Nobody's actually doing this, but it's a way just to kind of reinforce, if you were really pressed to boil it down, rather than just saying, I'll just keep it all, or just saying, I don't care, I'll just keep, this because it doesn't really matter. It's not a real thing. It's just kind of a way to think, okay, if you really did for some reason have to pick and choose carefully and have a limit, it makes the thought experiment a little more interesting, in my opinion, because you have some parameters you have to stick to.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a killer idea because it does, and it did me too. I mean, I've been listening to Maiden for 45 years or something like that now at this point. And, it does make you kind of step back and go, okay, with these limitations, I now have to really think about this. Like, I can't just go pull whatever the hell I want off my shelf and play it. I got to really think about this.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Yeah. And ignore the flash drive thing because no one should listen to Maiden compressed anyway. So,
right. No, it was a cool exercise. And all week I was thinking, big deal. No, this will be easy. I've already got like a mainframe in my head of what I would pick. And I guess we should go into individually how we approach this. Duane, let's start with you. How did you approach this process for this?
Okay,
for this
so,
show?
When I first got the email, my thought was, when I first read through it, I'm thinking, okay, I'm supposed to put together a best of Maiden kind of thing, So my first thought was, and there are some best of Maidens out there. There's Edward the Great, things like that. And it's like, okay, so if I were to make my own best of, what would I put on there? What I think should be on a best of album. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, that's really not what this is. Maybe I should put together a best of what, if I wanted to turn somebody on to Maiden, this is the CD I would give them, right? To introduce them to the band. And I thought, no, that's really not what Alan's saying either. This is about what songs do I get to keep on a desert island on one CD, and that's all the Maiden I have for the rest of my life at that point because I'm stranded there, right? So it really made me look at some things and some songs in certain ways, and because some tracks you'll see on my list, you might think, oh, that's obvious, that's such a standard, but it's like, yeah, but some of these songs are standards that I could not imagine never hearing again. So, it's just really kind of had to make me really think about this. Then, when you approach a catalog of 17 albums, plus. That's just the albums. You know, we're not talking B-sides and all that crap.
The covers. I mean, there's some great covers.
I mean, it's like, you know, smorgasbord of desire and the crunch of 80 minutes. I'll tell you, when I started putting together the list and then sat down with the calculator, it was like, oh, that ain't going to work. You know?
Yeah, it seemed really easy until we actually added up the timers. I was like, oh.
Yeah. And then the more I trimmed, the harder it got.
Yeah.
Harder it got, you know, and I'm like, oh, I'm only at 98. Oh, come on. You know? Keep going, you know? So, but yeah, so what I did was it really made me step back and go, okay, this is the 80 minutes of Maiden, 81 minutes, 81 minutes of Maiden that I'm taking with me, period. That's all that matters. That's what this list is. These are my 81 minutes of Maiden that I want to be my forever Maiden, I guess, right? That's how I ended up finally coming to the conclusion of my list. So, but it was tough. It was tough.
How about you, Alan? How did you approach it?
Yeah, similar, idea. For me, it kind of boiled down to the idea, which Iron Maiden songs, do I want to continue to hear? There are some classic ones that, yes, I've heard them enough. They don't need to be on this. I got tired of them a long time ago. There are some classics, though, I still really enjoy hearing that absolutely have to be on this. Something that made this one particularly difficult that and it occurred to me when we were working out the idea, but it didn't really hit home until I was putting the list together. One thing that makes Maiden hard for this particular exercise is they have a lot of good longer songs, but the longer songs eat up a big chunk of your time very quickly. So that's it's like, okay, oh, I want this track and this track and this track. Well, that one's 9 minutes. This one's 7 minutes. That one's 11 minutes. It's like, that's already 27 minutes. It's like, oh. So it's like, how many long songs, must you keep? But realizing that every long song means that could be replaced with 2 to 3, kind of regular 4 to 5 minute length songs. That became a real issue for me picking things. It's just like, which long songs just won't fit because of time constraints, and which long ones do I feel like I have to pack in there? I'm going to be interested to see how y'all
songs off of Book of Souls. That's your disc.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very sad disc it is. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to be interested to see if anybody really tried to maximize by sticking just to the shorter stuff, or not. I ended up with more of the longer songs than I thought I might. I thought I might try to, cut a corner there and just pick more shorter ones. But there was Maiden's very good at the longer song format in a lot of cases. I know we sometimes, rag on the band a bit because for having in more recent years albums and songs that drag on too much. But it's something that, over the length of their career, they've been great at. And so a lot of those longer-ish songs did stay on my list. So I may not have as many individual songs as y'all. I don't know. I guess we'll find out pretty soon.
Mike, that is a really, I kind of like that You Just Be My Guide song too, but it is a weird song. It is not a typical Maiden song. And that's kind of why it's kind of cool, I guess, but weird. Anyway, for me,
your approach, Marty.
Same thing. I said, you know what? I'm just going to approach this. I used Spotify because, like I said, I want to try to make all these available at the end of this, available on Spotify for you folks to check out. Of course, one thing that I wanted on there isn't on Spotify, so already my list is fucked on there. But I just started picking songs. Go through each album. I pick 1 or 2 or 3 songs from each album. Try to represent what I think. In some albums I skipped. We'll get into that too. At the end of it, I'm looking at a 3-hour-long list. I'm like, well, okay, I know now I need to start culling. So when you first start, it's easy to cull. But once you start getting down to the, I'm 15 minutes too long, and then you're looking, and Alan's completely right, Afraid to Shoot Strangers. It was on my list for a minute. And it's a great song. I love where the song eventually goes, but one thing with a lot of these longer Maiden songs, it takes a minute for them to get there. And even though I love the song, I'm like, well, for the list, and I don't want to not have a Diano song on there. So I got plenty of Bruce. You only have 2 Deano albums to pick from and some singles and a whole bunch of Bruce. So I wanted a good representation of the Deano era, which is my favorite era of the band. And so yeah, the trimming was hard, and I approached this list a little bit differently than most people. You know, I could have made a best of. You know, the best of Maiden is great, but do I need to? If I'm going onto this island and never hearing Maiden again, I can sing along with "Run to the Hills" in my head. I've listened to that song 1,000 bazillions of times. I approached my list. I tried to pick deeper cuts. I think, you know what? These are songs. I love all these songs, and there's some that aren't deeper cuts. I do have some of their more popular ones on here, but you know, I didn't feel like I needed a best of CD to sit on a desert island with. I want something that I maybe didn't have as much time with or didn't have as much focus, something they don't play every time they go roll through the US. You know, I wanted to have some favorites mixed with some tracks that weren't what everybody knows. So that's the approach I took to my list. And yeah, it started to hurt. I cut some stuff off this list. I wanted Blaze Bayley on here because I love Man on the Edge. I think that's a great song. I love the Klansman. There's another song. I had the Klansman and Man on the Edge on there. And as things started getting tighter and tighter and tighter, I'm like, fuck, man, they gotta go. They gotta go. Cause I mean, they're two albums. Although I do like X Factor, I don't like Virtual 11. I rarely ever listen to them. So they were gone. You know, there's just, we'll get into what we called and whatnot, but
yeah, we'll keep tabs on what we've put on, but we'll also talk, you know, maybe towards the end about what things just got left off, didn't make the cut, or if we notice any glaring or we'll try to look for some of the patterns too. Did we all pick heavily out of the, you know, first 5 albums and then skimp on, you know, the late 80s or something? We'll see we'll see how things fall out. It should be pretty interesting.
I also considered picking all of Killers and then a few Bruce songs.
I had that issue with one album also.
I'm like, I would hate to not ever hear Killers again. It's like the perfect from start to finish, perfect Maiden record. Perfect.
Boy, am I going to piss Marty off.
Senjutsu. Here we go. The Senjutsu hour. Anyway.
No.
Well, Duane, we're going to do a song each and go around robin until we're at the end of this tale. But,
all right.
You're firing off your mixtape. What do you got?
Right. So
What's
you
your
insert
opening
the
track?
disc and you hit play, and what starts up on track 1, first album, Phantom of the Opera. And the reason for this track and why it's so special to me, and that album, the first Maiden record is also the second Maiden record I ever bought. And that was before Killers. So when it comes to those two albums, Maiden and Killers, Maiden is my preferred out of the 2 Deano albums. And that's strictly because it was my initiation into the Deano era of Maiden. So, you know, I spent a lot more time with that. But Phantom of the Opera is such a spectacular track. It's so well written. And when I first started playing bass in high school, I remember telling myself, I will not call myself a bass player until I can play Phantom of the Opera. And I was right around 24, 25 when I actually nailed that song down and could play it no problem.
Nice.
So it was also a track that was I used as a stepping stone for myself musically in my musicianship. So it's a very, very special track. I love that song. Clocks in at 7 minutes. So to start my disc off with the, Maiden's going to run anywhere from your average of 4 to, if you want to get up into Senjutsu, 19 minutes, right? So it's 7 minutes. I'm kind of biting off a decent bite right off the top of the cake here, but mandatory. Have to have Phantom of the Opera.
Great song. No complaints there. 100% agree. Should have been on my list too, but it wasn't. Alan.
All right. Well, for mine, we put my disc in, we hit play. Maiden's had a lot of really strong opening numbers, but there's one that is, most near and dear to my heart. We open with Prowler, the opening track from the debut album. Because to this day, that will still, when they just start the, da da dun da dun da dun da dun da dun, wah 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 wah, that'll still make the hair on my arms stand up every single time I play that album. So it's also kind of fitting that it starts the disc. It's the start of their album discography. It's the first track on the first album from the first lineup that appeared on LP. So yeah, not considered necessarily one of the essential Maiden songs, but I love it. It's always been a personal favorite, and yeah, I've got to have those particular notes kick this whole thing into gear. So I'm going to start with, I guess, at least a semi deep cut, and use Prowler to open up my disc. It's there's one other song we'll talk about later that I seriously considered, actually I guess two, for the opening slot. The opening was hard because I did want it to be one of the definitive album openers, and Prowler won the debate. But there were some other excellent ones that definitely could open this up, and we'll see which one Marty chose to open his with right now. Marty, what's your track one?
And you got to really admit, Maiden were really good at choosing openers. I mean, all through their career. I mean, there was always usually the opener, even on like No Prayer for the Dying, Tail Gunner. It's a banger song. That was on my list for a minute, but I had to cull it because it's not an exceptional Maiden song. It's just a good, solid formulaic. Anyway, my first song. I wanted to go with my favorite Bruce song, and this I am completely satisfied is on my Desert Island mix. If I never got to hear another Bruce song again, as long as I get to hear this one, I'm set. And that's Flash of the Blade. My 100%.
I knew that'd be on your list.
My 100% favorite Bruce song. I love how he's darker, a little more evil, the way he's singing the verses. And then when the chorus hits in, it's kind of like an uplifting, lilting. I just love that fucking song. It's well constructed. You could tell he's passionate about the subject material. He's a fencer. It's just a great song. So I'm starting off with it's like a 4-minute track. Track times was a thing. Yep. 4:05, almost 4 on the dot. So Flash of the Blade really kind of tried to set the tone with my mix with that song. All right, Duane.
Okay, so coming out of Phantom of the Opera into track 2, we're going to do one thing that I love very much about the Di'Anno era, and that is we are going to drop right down. And probably my favorite track on the first album, and that is Strange World.
Okay,
it's got one of my favorite lyrics, with girls drinking plasma wine, blood. I love that lyric. I love that track. There's 2 of them on that album, which is Strange World and Remember Tomorrow.
That was on my list too. I had to cut it. I was pissed about it.
And they're both phenomenal, and a part of Maiden that a lot of people I don't think revisit or discuss very much. And it's so important because those songs are incredible, and Paul is phenomenal vocally on those tracks.
Soulful crooner. He was.
And absolutely captures that early New Wabam England sound for me. I love Strange World. I never get tired of that track. But yeah, so I figure open up the disc with Phantom of the Opera, and then boom, let's drop it down and give you a taste of this before we move on from here. So Strange World. And it was tough, actually. I was deciding, do I want to do Remember Tomorrow or Strange World? And because they're actually very similar songs in their feel and their tempo. And Strange World, though, just has the lyrics. I love that track. So sticking with that one.
Yep.
That's my number 2. And that one clocks in at 5 minutes and 43 seconds. So not too bad.
Not too bad. All right. Alan.
All right. Let's see. Second for me is going to be, I'm actually going to jump to the second album and use Wrathchild as track number 2, which is one I considered for the album opener here. It's just like, yeah, again, I had to have Prowler, but Wrathchild could have filled that bill. My thinking here is and you'll see this pattern. I want to kind of keep the Diano songs together, so that if I want to hear just the Diano material, it's all in one place. It always kind of bugs me when you have anthologies or whatever, and they really mix those kind of eras up where it's, Diano sings on tracks 1, 3, 7, 12, and 16. It's just like, that bugs me personally. So I want to keep the Diano tracks together. So needed more of the Diano material up front. Again, because it's the earlier part of the band's history, I decided to put it at the front. I almost put it at the back. I was like, no, I think I want it sort of pseudo-chronologic in that sense. And yeah, Wrathchild, just, it's another good forceful number. Prowler's a good, catchy, upbeat one. And I wanted to, kind of go from, strength to strength, keep, the pacing up. So I wanted another one of those more aggressive songs like that. And Wrathchild perfectly fits the bill for that. Yeah, Marty, you mentioned before, kind of jokingly, that you could have put a ton of killers on here. Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of hard to boil down what I wanted from killers, but Wrathchild pretty quickly became one that was a must-have. And yeah, I like it here because, Prowler's going to get the blood pumping. Wrathchild is going to get it, going even faster. So, and it's also a relatively short song, 2 minutes and 55 seconds. I'm using times from Metal Archives, so of course they could vary from other sources. But yeah, it's a good, short, punchy, aggressive, classic number. Doesn't eat up too much of the clock. So I feel like I'm off to a good start having Wrathchild in the number 2 slot.
All right. Well, number 2 for me, I had to get some Diano in there. And actually, this one song I picked is not on Spotify. So when I do get the list up, this one will not be on my list, which sucks. But at 5 minutes, 24 seconds, I picked Twilight Zone. It was a single.
Great song.
It might have been didn't it come on U.S. eventually? Didn't they add it to the U.S. Version of the first album?
It's on the U.S. pressings of Killers, I think, isn't it?
Oh, it's on Killers.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I can think of that they don't have it on Spotify.
Yeah,
is that they somehow did it from the original track list.
And why did I pick that song? It's a banger song. This is a very piss and vinegar song. It's got a feel like Running Free. It's got that gallopy kind of fun feel to it, but it's heavier and way more adventurous structure. And Diano is singing his ass off on this song. Absolutely great track. And that early era, I couldn't let this one go. It's a one that maybe not a lot of people talk about. Obviously it's not on Spotify, which makes no sense, but I love the track, and it's early on too, because it's got the energy. I like to start off strong. My middle will start to mellow a little bit, and I try to end strong. So yep, Twilight Zone. I love it. It's a great song. I couldn't have lived without that one for sure. All right.
Okay. All right. So track 3, just so here's my list. Track 3, we're going to pull out of the first album, and we're going to go into Killers for one track. And this is where, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. 2 tracks. But this is where, kind of like Alan, my list is pretty much kind of in order of release, maybe except for a couple. And primarily the reason for that is because, again, like I was describing how this is my 80 minutes of Maiden. This is like my life with Maiden flashing before my eyes, right? So as I progressed through Maiden with them, this is the progression. So I went with a nice short one, and this is where if Ellen was going to force me to go 80 minutes instead of 81, this was going to be my cheating cut to do so. But I'm so glad I got to keep it because it's very important. And this track was the namesake of one of my bands, and it was also our warm-up track that we would always play at practice and live to warm up with, and that is Ides of March. It's a minute and 48. No lyrics. It's that straight up, just Steve Harris gallopy. You want it quick, minute and 48 of what Maiden's music is about. There it is. There's your snapshot right there. Ides of March. So it's also coming out of track 2 with Strange World. We were on that down low, kind of slower paced track. Now we're going to kick it back up, and that's a great way to do it. With a quick snapshot of Ides of March, minute and 48. So that's track 3.
All right, he's gonna nickel and dime it with the small track listing. These are track times. Yeah,
No, that's cool. I know
that's a good
it's
pick
on-
though. Good
yeah,
pick.
and he has a good connection to that song. Very cool pick. All right, so we're on number 3. All right, I'm staying in the Dino album. I'm going back to the first album for a second song. I've had 2 sort of shorter, faster, catchier ones so far. So now it's time to apply the brakes a little bit. Go for a longer song, and I've got Phantom of the Opera at number 3. Eats up a lot of time at like 7 minutes 22 seconds, but it's obviously one of the big classics. I love the song to death. I've not gotten tired of that, even after all these decades. It's been a big part of their live sets through the years. It would really feel wrong for me to leave this out. It's just a very iconic song. Maiden, it really, on the first album, starts to set the bar for, they do all these songs about, these kind of, classic, stories. Maiden's one of those great story-based songwriting. Take any particular old poem, turn it into a song. Any old sort of horror story or detective story, they could turn it into a song, and you would love it.
Myth and history.
It'd make you go, yes, dig up, go to the library. How many kids, entire high school English history career out of only reading books and writing reports about things they heard on Iron Maiden albums. So it's like, I got to write another book for 10th grade English. Well, let's go see what the Rime of Ancient Mariner is actually about. So yeah, Phantom of the Opera felt like, despite the length, I wanted that one to be in the track list as well. So but yeah, I just wanted to open the album with a couple of faster ones. So I put it a little later in the track list than Duane did. So we're putting it here. It's still obviously a pretty high energy song. It's just a longer song, so it kind of changes.
The cool thing about Phantom too is it's 7 minutes, but it doesn't feel like 7 minutes.
It really doesn't. No, it moves along extremely well throughout the length of the song. It's it's what Iron Maiden was really great at with those kind of songs. They knew how to keep a long song moving, keep it interesting. You get to the end of it, and you'd have been fine if they kept going. Absolutely. So yeah, that is Phantom. That is going to be my last one from the self-titled. So I've got 2 tracks from the debut album. There won't be any more from that one. Marty, what do you got in the third slot?
Well, the third slot, I wanted to try to keep the energy up a bit, and so I went to Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, and I struggled with that record because it's one of those records where when I put it on, I want to listen to it from start to finish. It feels like every track is where it needs to be, and they all share that vibe, that atmosphere. That post somewhere in time atmosphere is still very evident. They're starting to get a little proggier in spots here, but I ended up, the only track I chose from this record actually is The Clairvoyant, deeper cut on the album.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the most straight up older school Maiden song on the album. It doesn't have the prog vibe to it that the rest, like songs like Moonchild or the guitar synth and all the synth stuff that they're doing. It's just a really killer Maiden song that's right towards the end of the album. Starts off with the bass line. It's just a good energetic song. I always really liked when it came to that part of the album. You got out the big long tracks like Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. It seems like a journey, Prophecy, good. Clairvoyant, it's great. But I had other ones picked that I had to cut. It's the way it goes. Clairvoyant survived the cull, though. So, yep, that's my
Great
number
track.
3. Yep.
Great track.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Duane.
Okay, what are we on? Track 4.
We're on number 4.
Okay, so yeah, bumping out of Strange World into Ides of March, picking the blood pressure back up a little bit, and then now we're really going to throw it for a loop, and we are still on Killers and we are going to drop right into my favorite track on the album, which is Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Okay.
Yep.
You know, this track in the first verse alone, I remember it as plain as day, as though it happened in the dark of the night. I was strolling through the streets of Paris, and it was cold and starting to rain. And then I heard a piercing scream, and I rushed to the scene of the crime. But all I found was the butchered remains of 2 girls that lay side by side. There you go.
Well written.
I mean, that's just, you know, one verse and boom. And it's such a killer track. I love the song. Never get tired of it. There are times when I kind of don't want to hear some fast Maiden, and that's when I wouldn't want to hear that track. But when I do, I love that track. So, Murders in the Rue Morgue.
All right. Great song. Amazing album. The best for me anyway. Alan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tim also had that at number 4 on his list over there in the chat. I've also got it at number 4 on my list. Murders in the Rue Morgue. Sticking with Killers. Yeah, it's my knee-jerk reaction is that it's my favorite song on the album. If I sat down and really chewed it over, maybe there's one I'd pick higher. But yeah, like you said, Duane, great song. Another one of those, just fantastic story-based songs. It fits them perfectly, having that kind of, Victorian gaslight era, in this case, France. But France, England, it's all the same over there, right? I'm American. I'm allowed to say that.
It's like the Derek Riggs art. It's Eddie in the alley.
Yes,
I mean, it's
exactly. It fits the whole aesthetic of that early phase. Yeah, so well. One thing I like with it too, I mean, it's a faster, more aggressive song, but it's very catchy at the same time, and it shows off a little bit of Di'Anno's punky flair. Just a tad. We won't tell Steve Harris that. We won't bring it up to him, but I've always felt like it's just a little bit of that punch that you would get that Di'Anno can deliver. That gives it that little extra sort of punkish attitude with the delivery. So yeah, for all those reasons and what you stated, Murders would have to be one from Killers for me. It's the second one I've picked from Killers in the number 4 slot. So. All right, Marty. Now, Duane picked it at number 4. I picked it at number 4. Even Tim picked it at number 4. So
I'm on the same album.
Number 4.
I'm on the same album. Does that count?
Yeah, it's close. If we're playing horseshoes, it might count.
I picked Innocent Exile.
Okay.
Great track.
Okay.
I love My Life Is So Empty. He's like singing up in that higher register, just outside of his range, but he nails it on here. He's got Youth on his side. Mm-hmm. And the riff underneath that verse, it's a walking, sleazy street brawling riff. It's just so fucking good. And the lyrics are great. I just love the feel of it. And they're doing some little more advanced melody stuff on here. Where it comes out of the verses, it's like this weird, I don't know. It doesn't sound really like Maiden. It does, but it's different from what they kind of settled on moving forward. Number of the Beast and forward. It just seems there's some adventurous musical choices on these early Maidens, which I just greatly appreciate. And yeah, talking about the punk aesthetic. Granted on Innocent Exile, he's singing higher up, so it's not. But Di'Anno brought that punk aesthetic. He just did. It wasn't overtly evident on everything. It wasn't, but. You could tell he kind of came from the streets a little bit. He was rough and tumble. He wanted to party and smoke cigarettes and do whatever, and that wasn't going to bode well moving forward for Iron Maiden. But Innocent Exile is a great track. I think where is this at? Towards, it's the last song on side 1. Yep. Great song. And it's a good place to put that too. Coming after Genghis Khan, the instrumental, and then dipping into Innocent Exile with that emotion in the vocals. Oh, it slays me every time. There was no way this wasn't making it on my list. So yep, my number 4 is Innocent Exile. And I have one more from the album later on in my list. Okay.
It's your favorite album? Of course there is.
There should have been the whole goddamn album, and then a couple of new songs and been done, easy.
Yep. So far, we've each picked 2 from Killers.
Marty's like, okay, 46 minutes, done.
Easy exercise. Yep.
Okay, so let's see. This puts us track 5. So Yeah. So coming out of Murders in the Rue Morgue, I went with a B-side. It is like, I call it my Maiden happy song. I absolutely love this song. I never get tired of it. Sometimes I will Jones for it and I'll have to put it on because it'll be in my head. And I'm like, I got to hear it. I got to hear it right now. And it's the B-side to Running Free, and that is Burning Ambition. Absolutely love that track.
Yeah.
It's just a fast-paced, you know, I know what the song is about. You know, it's like, you know, basically the guy telling the wife to fuck off, but it's just such a good song. It just puts me in a good mood. I love that track. So Burning Ambition, and that one's not too bad. We're talking 2 minutes and 43 seconds, and kind of like I was talking about earlier, that's a short track, 2:43, but it doesn't feel that short. Where like some of the songs we were saying don't feel that long. This one doesn't feel that short. It's like almost like the perfect length. So had to include Burning Ambition 2:43, B-side of Running Free.
Right on. Good choice. Alan.
Yeah, Duane definitely watching the watching the clock and getting everything packed in that he can. Smart man. Let's see. Track 5 for me is going to be my last one from Killers, and it's going to be my last one from the Diano area. So, and that is going to be the title track, Killers. It's at 5:20. It's kind of medium, not too long, not too short. It felt like, I had to have it. You know, real staple song, very aggressive one. Just helps define that whole album so well. And it is a great album. It's near the top of the stack for me also. So yeah, again, like we've discussed earlier, you start with a big list, you cut things, you cut some more things. This was one I just never could bring myself to cut. So it stayed in here. And, you know, again, after Phantoms, you know, with the longer epic song, you know, I've had, you know, 2, again, faster, more aggressive songs to, you know, kind of speed things, you know, back up here on the track list. But this will be after this. Yes, we'll be getting into some Bruce era tracks for me. A lot of them, because that's what we pretty much have that in Blaze left. Spoiler alert, there won't be much Blaze on my list. But yes, Killers, number 5, fantastic track. It made the cut. It could have been borderline, but it did absolutely make it.
Right on. All right. Number 5 for me. Okay. Well, as we established in our deep dive we did, was it King on Iron Maiden?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I know me and Alan are different on this topic, but Somewhere in Time is one of my favorites. It's right up. It might be my favorite Dickinson era album, but I went with The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. There's no way that song wasn't going to make it. It's a longer driving track, kind of a deeper cut. The first time I heard that tape, I loved that song. I gravitated right to that song. There's something, I like how the music is so driving. You can just, in your head, you can see a guy just running his ass off. And when he sings he stretches out the loneliness of the long distance runner over that piece of music. It's just so much feeling in it. He found a way to take an odd phrase of words and make it very melodious and really sell the song. I think it's a very well written song. I love the driving beat with those melody lines, those twin guitar leads over the top of it. Great song, great album. Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner.
And that's why Marty's working on the cardio so that Kellen will have a jogging partner in the future.
Yeah. Nope, that won't be happening. All right.
Yeah, Loneliness is a great track, man.
So good.
Okay, so let's see. That was Burning Ambition. Now we're moving into what? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is track 6. And how appropriate. So, I just want to say real quick first, the cool thing about the first 2 albums, the Diano era of Maiden, the new album, peak of Iron Maiden right there. Those 2 albums, nothing sounds like them. And nothing has never sounded like them either. Even from that genre, Saxon doesn't sound like that.
No.
Leopard doesn't sound like that. Angel Witch doesn't sound like that.
UFO.
It's their own. Those two albums are a special spot in Maiden history. However, now we're moving into Number of the Beast, and track 6 is Number of the Beast. This is on here because this was my introduction to the band. So it, of course, is very, very special. But this album, a lot of people think of this album strictly as like, oh, that was the first Bruce album, right? When Bruce joined the band, Number of the Beast. That was when Bruce joined the band. And that's true. But what a lot of people don't remember is that this was also the last album that had Clive Burr on drums.
Yep.
And this was also the only album that had that magical Maiden band. And that was with Bruce and Clive, the only album with them together. Okay. And that band right there, Clive, on drums, Bruce, Dave, Adrian, and Steve. To me, that was the peak. That was the spot. That was the band. I love Nico McBrain, but the drums on this album and Clive's playing on this entire album have a sound all to themselves. And this is basically these next 3 tracks, this one and the next 2, I call like the trifecta of Maiden perfection. And this track, the Bruce performance, we all know the story of, the 4 hours of trying to hit that scream at the beginning. The lead-in narration that was done by what was the actor's name? Like Robert Gordon or something like that. Everyone thinks it's Vincent Price, and it isn't. But, the Woe to You, O Earth and Sea, that whole bit that, at the time, no one had done that, and later, you got, Motley Crue did it with Shout of the Devil, but this album, that track, to me was the defining Maiden. This is the defining Maiden. And this is one of the tracks that a lot of people may say, oh, I've heard it so much, I never have to hear it again. But again, going back to how I created the list and the way I took it as this is the only Maiden I will ever have, I could not imagine never hearing this again. It's just sacrilege. I couldn't pass it. So 666, Number of the Beast, track 6, legendary track. My opinion, best album of the band. What's his name says? Change My Mind, right? So Number of the Beast, track 6.
Right on. And I have to, Duane, I have to go in with you on the Clive Burr thing. Nico rules. Don't get me wrong here, but I always preferred Clive. He was tighter. And I think his fills, Nico, for me over the years, he relies on a lot of the same type of fills. There's like 2 or 3 fills that he reverts to. It's almost like a stutter. There's something his brain goes to, especially on the last couple records. But, the dude's, he's up there. He's in his mid-70s. He's over the halfway point of the 70s. Isn't he like 76? Something like that?
Yeah.
Well into the 70s, yeah.
And
just survived a
stroke. I know. And he's back. He still continued to play. So, but Clive, I would have liked to have heard another record with Clive. I just would have. But anyway, Alan. Oh, yeah, Alan. Good pick, by the way. Number of the Beast, classic.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would want that on their list for sure. Yeah, for me, it's one I've heard. I do fall into that camp. I've heard that one enough, so it did not make my list. But one that did make my list from that album, number 6, is Children of the Damned. And I'm kind of repeating the pattern I started the album with, where I had 2 kind of medium length, faster songs, and then went for more of an epic. Same here. I've gone from Murders in the Rue Morgue to Killers, and now we're going to do another epic track with Children of the Damned. Although it's not a longer one, it really only clocks in at 4:36. It feels like it's a longer song because, Bruce really gives it a really nice epic sweep, really good emotional delivery on it. It's one of the songs on that album that really has held up well with time. There are some songs on that album I'm not keen on. There are some that are good, but I've just heard too much. But that's one of the songs I can always go back to on that album and still enjoy, even after hearing it a lot of times in a lot of different versions. So yeah, Children of the Damned felt like a good one here to, again, kind of let the album slow down a little bit, let Bruce, expand a bit, and seemed like a perfect place to fit that one in. So I will pick one more from this album, but it's going to be a little bit later in the track list for reasons that I'll explain after a while. But Marty, are you also on Number of the Beast here, or where are you at in the catalog for number 6?
I'm on Number of the Beast, and my number 6 is We Want Information.
Very nice.
Information.
Who are you?
Who are you? The new number 2.
Who was
Who was number 1? You are number 6. The Prisoner, my favorite song off of Number of the Beast. It is... I love how the song starts. Starts with the drum beat. It feels like it could have come off of Killers. It has that sleazy street feel to that song, a swagger, just an awesome swagger to it. And then Bruce comes in singing over the "Not a prisoner, I'm a free man." All that. I love his singing over that chorus. He shows that he isn't just the air raid siren. He's got a really tasty singing style. I've always loved that song, and there's some songs on Number of the Beast that bug me. They're and you know the classics I think I'm good on. I mean, Number of the Beast, what a great song. But you look at Invaders, that is not it's a good song, it's just not a strong song. Gangland, it's okay. It's an okay song. But, you know, this is the big album for them. So we've all heard it 20 bazillion times. The only thing I picked off this album is The Prisoner, which is, there's some good songs I should have picked, but time, baby, time. And I wanted to go to other things that I might
You're
not
fired.
Yep, I know. So, yep, The Prisoner, my number 6, which is funny. It is the number 6 song, and you on number 6. Anyway. Dwayne, I didn't plan that. It just kind of happened out there.
Planned that.
I know.
Always fun to find the Easter eggs we didn't know we hid.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. So, you know, Invaders, Gangland, you know, I understand the downplay that those tracks get, but I cannot imagine that album without those tracks. Okay. Now, you know, when they did the remasters and all that, it was cool that they put Total Eclipse back on that record.
Good song.
Totally fits too, but I cannot see removing any song off that album.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, it's so embedded in my head that when I hear a track and it ends, I've already got the next track playing, you know, when it starts, and if it wasn't there, it would not be right. Again, so this is my trifecta that I call my trifecta of Maiden Perfection, which is off of Number of the Beast. Number 2, again, track played out by people. They say it's played out, blah, blah, blah. They don't need to hear it anymore, blah, blah. But again, I cannot not include this and not ever hear it again. Is just not in my blood. And again, this is a Clive Burr spectacular. And if you haven't heard it in a while and you think you're tired of it, go play it again and crank it, and you will be like, oh wow, okay. So that's Run to the Hills. And with Run to the Hills, that drum roll that Clive does in the chorus over that is just, and the way it was recorded, the production on that album, you know, magic, just magic.
Yep,
so
it's great.
You know, and we're looking at 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Number of the Beast is 4 minutes and 25 seconds. You know, so you're looking at 8 minutes just in those 2 tracks, you know, and you take that 8 minutes. The way I look at it is you take that 8 minutes of those 2 songs, and I'll take that 8 minutes over, you know, the 16 minutes of anything off of Senjutsu or Book of Souls any day. So, yeah. But yeah, so Run to the Hills has to be. I cannot not ever hear that again.
I've been thinking about revisiting Senjutsu. I tried listening to that record 3 times, and man, it's such an investment, a time investment.
You cannot digest Senjutsu in 3 listens.
I know. It's so
Takes me-
boring. It's so samey. It's oh god, it's too much. Anyway, it's 3 songs too long. Disc 2,
It's another video.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I already shot a video on how much I hated that record when it came out. Anyway, Alan.
Yeah, the way great description on Run to the Hills, Duane. I do fall in that camp where it's one I have heard enough. I'm not going to turn it off if it comes on, Ozzy's Boneyard or something. But for purposes of this project, I felt like, yeah, that's one. There's other songs I'd rather have on here under this set of conditions. So I did not get Run to the Hills worked in. But you're right. Everything about it works really good. I'm on to Peace of Mind, which is probably, arguably, my favorite Bruce era album. So there's going to be a few from this one. And at number 7, I want to start with one of the classics, which is The Trooper. And for a lot of folks, this might be an obvious one to leave out because you've heard it so much that you don't really need it on the disc. It's just one of those songs that
Song.
I've never gotten tired of. And again, there's something about this one that really, again, embodies, the Iron Maiden aesthetic from this era. Like we were talking about earlier, some of the songs like, Murders in the Rue Morgue embody that early, London by Gaslight kind of era with Di'Anno. Di'Anno's era, is a bit different, but, they're still steeped in lots of, historic tales, battles and all that. And The Trooper just encapsulates everything about that really well. I mean, it's not like it's a triumphant song. It's not we're going to conquer and prevail all. It's like, no, I'm going to kill you at the same time you kill me, and we're just both going to lay here. Everyone's getting killed in this particular mess. So great vocals, great gallop to it. It's one of the quintessential Iron Maiden songs, and I haven't gotten tired of it. So I'm absolutely fine keeping that one in the mix here and keeping it here at number 7. So again, coming out of Children of the Damned, the slower, more emotional song, I wanted something that, again, punched up the energy right away. And so we're going to take off with a couple more fast tracks, and The Trooper is going to be the first of those.
All right. Number 7 for me.
Number 7 for you, Marty.
I wanted to make sure with if this is the last Iron Maiden I'm ever going to hear for the rest of my life stranded on this island, I wanted to make sure I sprinkled my Di'Anno into the Bruce, so it kind of rides throughout. So I get a nice Di'Anno treat, and then 3-4 songs later I get a nice little I go from Bruce to Di'Anno. Anyway, Rat Child could not leave that song off. It again. What a perfectly well-written song off a perfectly well-written album with this great singer, a great charismatic singer. Obviously, he had a lifespan. His voice wasn't going to go the distance. We just knew that. But he left some total gems. Rat Child's one of them. I'm not going to, Duane, Alan, you guys have both explained it perfectly well. So I'm going to just say that's my number 7. Oops. Duane, we're going into number 8.
Okay, number 8, and I'm going to wrap up this trifecta with my favorite Maiden track. It is In My Will is my funeral song. It is obviously, if you look at my name tonight, that tells you all you need to know. Greatest Maiden track ever written, Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought it was going to be Charlotte the Harlot. That would be a weird funeral song.
22 Acacia Avenue. No, Hallowed Be Thy
That's
Name.
the address of the funeral home. That would be really now there's an Easter egg.
Yeah, this is it is. There is no greater Iron Maiden track in my opinion. I've heard this track probably more than any other Iron Maiden song, and I will still get goosebumps when I listen to this song. Every time. It is legendary. It will never get old. And to me, I mean, if it came down to it, if you had to say, all right, Duane, you can only take 3 songs on a CD with you it would have been those 3 songs, which is Number the Beast, Run of the Hills, and Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Yeah.
One maxi single, right? That's
one 12-inch British single.
Yeah, those are probably the most important 3 on this entire list. But that third one, number 8, Here Hallowed Be Thy Name, is the most important. Um, so yeah, has to be on there. Absolutely. First when I knew I had to put this list together, kind of like we were joking about Marty taking killers and going, okay, now where's the rest? For me, it was, hallowed be thy name. Now where's the rest?
Yeah.
So yeah, this was the no brainer. This is the track. So
All right.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah, and I mean, Duane's been very time conscientious so far. So the fact that he's taking a 7+ minute song here tells you just how much that means. If you had any doubts after that very eloquent speech, he's investing 7 minutes on his list to that track. All right, let's see. I'm still on Peace of Mind for our next one. I wanted another sort of big gallopy soaring classic Maiden epic, and I'm keeping Flight of Icarus. Another one that, while a lot of people will feel like they know it inside and out, I just don't get tired of that track. Classic storytelling. The songs put together very well, very smart.
Great song.
Incredible chorus to it. Everything about that song works beautifully. Not a very long song either. It's a nice compact one. So kind of following my pattern of better songs, it clocks in under 4 minutes. It does everything I want it to. Again, this is right here, Peace of Mind. Kind of prime Dickinson era Iron Maiden for me. I don't mind keeping a couple of these classics. They're classics for a reason, and they're classics I am not tired of. So it shall stay, and it shall stay at track number 8. So, Marty, what about your number 8?
I went to, I think this is the newest album on my list. I went to Dance of Death for the next album, for the next song. I had multiple tracks from, I think Dance of Death is a great record. There's a few things Bruce does on some of the songs. He's too following along. He does that a lot. He's not really exploring soulful vocal lines on here. He's just following the riffs. But so having said that, I really like this record. I think it's their last really great one in my book. But man, I had Passchendaele on here. I love that song. It takes a minute to get going, but I do love it. It's a great storytelling song. But New Frontier, there's something about that song that is a little bit less typical from the rest of the. It's kind of like Judas Be My Guide. It's just it's still Maiden, but it's got a different flavor, kind of a commercialness to the chorus. But Bruce is doing a good job on this one. The chorus, he's really being melodious. He's really being soulful. I've always liked the track. I put it pretty much smack dab in the middle of my mixtape here, and great song. I don't know. What do you guys think of Dance of Death?
It's a very good album. I didn't really warm up to it when it came out, but revisiting it much later, so I was like, yeah, it's a really, really strong album. One of the best of the sort of comeback era for me. Duane, what's your opinion of it?
Yeah, I'm actually with you, Marty. To me, Dance of Death is for me the last great Maiden record. Yeah. Okay.
Stupid fucking album cover, but whatever.
Everybody shits on the album cover, and to me, the album cover's not even that bad. It's a sign of the times, man.
It's just such bad graphics.
When Glenn Benton looks at your album cover art and says, like, "Yikes, that ain't very good," you know something's wrong.
Yeah, and I've heard it described as PlayStation 1, and it's like, yeah, I can see that,
Yeah.
And it's definitely computerized, video game type graphics. I've never understood what the hell happened and why did you let Derek Riggs go as your cover artist? I've never understood that. My God, bring him back. If the magic is working, don't change it, But again, topic for another video. But no, Dance of Death, I think, is a completely underrated record. And I'll take it over anything after it for sure.
Agreed. Yep, I would too.
Yeah. All right, so Duane is next.
And just to point out,
Okay.
we are 8 tracks deep in this, and Duane and I haven't even gotten to 1984 yet in our discography. So
I've only got like 8 tracks left. So I mean, this is a short episode, so start thinking of how we could
well, again,
keep going.
we'll do some comparing and contrasting.
I'm like
But,
just
yeah,
getting ready to open Peace of Mind, and Marty's over there fingering Dance of Death. I'm like, what
Yeah,
the
I mean,
hell?
Marty's jumping throughout the catalog and touching on all the eras, and yeah, Duane and I are still like in 1983.
No, I'm trying to touch on all the eras and make a
Mhm.
something little more exciting. Not saying exciting to listen to, but unexpected. You don't know where the
Yeah.
next song's going to come from. Anyway, if you're out on the island, you need that little extra bit of entertainment. Like, what's next? I don't remember. What did I put on this thing? Yeah. All right.
All right. So track 9, stepping into the Peace of Mind album. It's interesting. I did not pick the Trooper on this album because I picked Run to the Hills. And to me, the Trooper was always Run to the Hills 2.
Mm.
You know, it's got a lot of the same subject matter, so to speak. It's got the same feel. Love the song, obviously. It's classic. But to me, it's not Run to the Hills. It's Run to the Hills Part 2. So I didn't want to double up on that. And I went with my first pick off this album is my favorite track off the album. Peace of Mind to me is really special. It was the first tour I saw the band live. And this song is very, very special because I'm such a fan of the subject matter, and that is To Tame a Land.
Ah,
Mm.
nice.
You know, I'm a big Dune fan.
Mhm.
Read the book when I was young. Loved the original Lynch film. I've been totally digging the remakes. So, to have, like we were talking, Alan, about, how Maiden likes to dip into myth and history and stuff like that. Here they're going, deep with pulling something from Dune, and writing a track about that. And I was all in, baby. Love this track. Killer stuff. And I think it's often forgot about and looked over. And if you want to visit some older Maiden and just be fresh, go listen to Tame a Land if you haven't heard it in a long time. See what you've been missing. So,
I gotta
and that's a longer one too, 7 minutes and 28
Yeah.
seconds.
Yep.
But again, it feels like a 5-6 minute track.
I gotta say for me. I return to Peace of Mind quite often when I'm in a Maiden mood because that second half of the album, it's got deep cuts. Still Life, Sun and Steel. I always love those. I mean, and they're not going to go pound for pound with the Trooper and the Flight of Icarus. It's just they're not that type of song. But no one really talks about those tracks, and they're all good. And Tame a Land is one of them. It's like the whole second half of that record is deep cuts, and it's great. I like them for that. I'm glad there's some songs in their catalog that didn't really get played to death over the years. It makes it revisiting those catalogs special, for me anyway.
No, I agree, Marty. That's one reason I ranked that album so high. I mean, you've got the entire A side is just ingrained in most people's DNA, including then the Trooper on side B. But yeah, then the last 4 tracks are ones that, people aren't as familiar with. Still Life is a fantastic song. Yeah, I love that one. Every time I go back and play, I'm just like, why doesn't this one get more attention? The last 3 are not my personal favorites, but yeah, it's still neat to go back and it gives me something to go back and listen to that I don't know incredibly well and pick up on things. So yeah, it's a good description of the album, Marty. It's balanced really nicely that way.
Yeah. All right, Alan, you're up.
All right, so we are on track number 9. I've got one more visit to make here for Peace of Mind. And everything Duane said before about Hallowed Be Thy Name being the best Iron Maiden song, I can't really argue with that. But if I'm going to argue with it, I'm going to do it on behalf of Revelations. And that song will stay. That is absolute classic, incredibly well written. Again, Maiden does those longer epic songs incredibly well, and this one for me just is absolute perfection. It's the one song that I can think of, that would be on that same top God tier with Hallowed Be Thy Name. So, but it doesn't get played as much as like, Hallowed Be the Name or some of the other big epics from this era. It doesn't get as much attention as, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner or, Power Slave or whatnot. So it's not like it's a deep cut, but it is one that sometimes flies a little under the radar, and it's just gloriously done. So Revelations is the third and last track for me from Peace of Mind. And I'm once again sticking to the pattern of two maybe kind of, faster, more energetic songs. And now we've got, the third track here is going to be one that, kind of lets off the gas a little bit, but not off, the awesomeness. Revelations all day, every day, absolutely. That will be my number 9. And I will get on to 1984 after this. I promise. But Marty, where are you somewhere in time right now?
I am somewhere in time. On
Nailed it.
Stranger in a Strange Land. Man, having to narrow down the Somewhere in Time album was tough. It was tough for me. I mean, obviously, Cutting Floor, first one to go is Heaven Can Wait. It's a great song with a really crappy chorus. I always hated that chorus, but the rest of the song is good. Stranger in the Strange Land, it's got that dark, churning, just the way Bruce, again, when he's slower and more soulful, he really nails it for me. He really gets into those sweet spots. He finds the melody lines and he plays with it, and it's so good. Just from the opening verse lines many years ago, and I have left home, came this way. I was a young man full of hopes and dreams. What a great, you're setting up a story, and the guitar synths and the atmosphere of this song and this album. It's a slower track, but I always really related to it. I really related to the vibe and feel of it. Yeah, I would have. What else did I have? I had, oh boy. I had Sea of Madness. I had a real hard time letting go of that song too, but the two kind of similar pace and feel. Stranger in a Strange Land won for me. So amazing album. What an amazing album. And great song, Stranger in a Strange Land.
Yep.
Somewhere in Time made it very easy for me to free up some space for other things. So, I do have one song from the album on my list, though.
You do? Okay. I find it a bit surprising, to be honest.
I'm 3 years away from it, but no, one track did make it on here. So
wow.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Alan, I'm in the same boat. I got one off that album.
I think I only have one too, but no.
No, you've already named 2.
Yep.
You've named Loneliness and Stranger.
Right?
Yep, you're right.
Okay, so track 10. I'm still in
digits.
Peace of Mind, but I'm leaving it. And this is the last track off that album. And as Alan mentioned, and absolutely agree 100%, and that is Revelations. Again, like just like you said, that God level of like Hallowed Be Thy Name for this album. Yeah, this is the track, Revelations.
Yeah.
Phenomenal track. Enough said. I mean, or as Bruce would say when they do it live, Revelations. So great track. It is, it's actually shorter than To Tame a Land. It's 6 minutes and 50 seconds. So by about half a minute, it's actually shorter.
Takes some time, but it's absolutely worth it.
With those two songs though, if I were just listening to them, I couldn't tell you which one was longer until I looked at the time. I was like, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, phenomenal album. Peace of Mind. Like I said, it was the first time I saw the band. Fastway opened for them, Spokane, Washington. And I remember when that album came out and going to buy it. I was so, I want to share this because no one ever talks about it. It pissed me off because when I saw the cover, I could not believe they fucking shaved Eddie's head. Got rid of his long hair. I was pissed. I was literally pissed.
He does look weird. You're right.
As a kid, I was pissed. I'm like, how could they do that to Eddie? I mean, I was just, and I was, oh man. And then, of course, now I love it. But, back then I was like, they can't do that to Eddie. So, but great album. But yeah, Revelations. Number 10.
Right on. Alan.
All right, with track 10, not time for a faster song. I'm sticking to my pattern, and time to move on to the Power Slave album. If I had decided to start the album with something from the Bruce era, it would have been this one. It would be Aces High.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic album opener. Yeah, again, another one that for some folks, they have it, encoded in their noggin enough that they may leave it out and leave room for other stuff, which, yeah, I get that approach for sure. I still love the song. I would never skip the song. So yeah, Aces High, absolutely great. One of the great album openers, one of the great Bruce tracks. Once again, this one just kind of, fits their idiom so well. Classic war story, very compact, incredible guitar work. You know it from the first few notes, and you know exactly what it is, and you're in for a great ride. So yeah, I'm going to pick 2 songs from Power Slave, and Aces High is going to be the first of those. So that's what I'm putting here at number 10. We had a good epic break with Revelations, and then we're once again stepping on the gas and diving into combat with Aces High.
Right.
Marty, number 10 on your list.
Number 10. Coming off of a more melancholic track like Strangers in Strangeland, I wanted to kick up the vibe a little bit. So Aces High.
Hey, there we go.
Is this the most exciting Maiden song? It might be. It might be the most exciting Maiden song. The most explosive. I mean, what an album opener. What an album opener. It's so good. And it's really a perfect song. The subject matter, the way that Bruce sandwiches in those lyrics but still maintains a excitement, the way he's presenting them. I don't know. I love the song. It's weird putting a couple of these tracks later in an album because you're so used to hearing it fire off a record. Yes. Hearing it like in the middle of the track list, it's like, I mean, hearing these songs in different orders and different configurations is maybe part of the excitement of the when you're listening back to it. But Aces High is my number 10. Great song. Yeah. I don't think anybody can debate that.
That's a good description, Marty. I mean, just the way they do it, the vocal delivery, it really makes you feel like you're in the dogfight yourself.
Your teeth are gritted, and
you're feeling the G's and everything.
Yeah.
As you're doing the rolls and stuff, trying to get the right angle to shoot them down before they can zero you. It really just delivers so well.
There you go. Aaron summed it up nicely. He's been listening. He's on a big ICP kick again, I guess.
Aaron, every Friday night, Aaron seems to get into. He is down with the clown every Friday night. Mm-hmm. Good to see you, Aaron. Hope
good
you're doing
to see
well,
you,
buddy. Yeah, hey, you got to tell us how that Interceptor show was.
Oh, he went and saw Interceptor.
I think he went and saw Interceptor. I think he took his son to see Interceptor, or maybe it's coming up. Maybe they haven't gone yet. But Aaron, if you've gone, let folks know in the chat over there. How was the show?
All right, Duane, what's your number 11?
Okay, yeah, track 11. Okay, so this is where I might piss some people off. I wasn't ready for this, but so I'm stepping into Power Slave now too, but Aces High to me is the one track that, it's a great song, but I've definitely heard it enough.
No, that's fair.
No, right on.
That one and 2 Minutes to Midnight. I just,
also fair.
Love the Power Slave album.
2 Minutes to Midnight for me was always an overrated song. It's it doesn't have a lot of excitement or dynamics in it. It's kind of a straight ahead, kind of deadpan Maiden track for me anyway.
I'm not dogging it or anything. It's just, I don't know. That one just doesn't, to be honest, even now when I listen to Power Slave, I kind of skip past Aces High. I just don't. Anyway, what I did pick, so to me, this is well, first I have to address something that Aaron said, and that was, I wonder who's going to pick Back in the Village. And no, that's your Invaders on this album.
Yeah, it is totally the Invaders of the album. 100%. Back in
the
village, in the back of the village, in the back of the village. I mean, come on. Really?
Back in the village. Yeah. No one's going to pick that, Aaron. But I went with the title track, Power Slave. To me, that track just it captures that album. That's that the whole Egyptian thing. I love the way the track starts. I'm pretty sure it's Nico that opens that up with that laugh. That I love that intro. Love the track. That's one that I still remember when that came out, buying it, and I still remember listening to that song and just diving into the album cover over and over and over the whole time. I still have fond memories of that. So yeah, love Power Slave. Love that song. Never gets old.
All right, Alan.
Yeah, Power Slave, very good track. It's one for me where the length is like, yeah, I'm going to leave that one off to conserve time for some other stuff. But cannot fault anybody for having that one on there. I've got one other track from Power Slave, and it's actually 2 minutes to midnight. Now, this is one Marty and I disagree on. I like the song, and for me, there's something about it. It fits with Ace's High very well. Ace's High leading into 2 minutes to midnight makes a incredible 1-2 punch to open the album, in my opinion. So if I wanted to keep the track, it has to come right after Ace's High. I don't know if the song would work as well somewhere else in the track list. So it was one of the last ones that I did keep in the list. It actually comes in at almost 6 minutes. It's longer than it feels like to me. So when I saw that, I was like, maybe I trim it and save some time elsewhere. But at the end of the list, I'm like, I really do want that 1-2 punch from this album. And that one of the issues, with this album is some of the good songs are very, very long songs on here. I wanted more than one track from Power Slave. I wanted Ace's High. The natural follow-up to me is 2 minutes. I know there's some cool deep cuts on the album that I could have picked. I couldn't find room to keep one of the big epics, sadly. So I will be content with the opening pair before moving on to other things for the next track. But I will keep 2 minutes. Like the song, it is, it's kind of goofy in the lyrics and stuff like that, but I can still dig it. I think it's a good follow up for the number 2 slot on that album.
The legendary lyric of "to kill the unborn in the womb." I remember back in the day when that came out. That was that was, as a kid, that was a heavy lyric.
Yeah. Well, and this was a band, that everyone still, they had the specter of the number of the Satanic album hanging, kind of dogging them a little bit. So to have a lyric like that, plays right back into that. It's like, oh, we knew it, they're evil. Said
yeah, I'd be in the kitchen doing dishes, to kill the unborn in the womb, and Mom would walk in like, "What the fuck are you saying?
What did you say?" It's got the Dawn squirting it in your mouth.
Duane, why can't you listen to the Jay Giles band? They're very nice boys.
Yep. All right.
So I'll pick that one. That's going to be my last from Power Slave, sadly. Just not enough time. We're getting late in the game here.
And sadly for me, this is the last Diano track on my list, on my comp. And I picked a weird one. I picked Prodigal Son. Again,
that's a great track.
It's another Killers, but it's not a ripper. It's more of Diano is in a soulful mode, and showing that he's a great singer that can find that emotion. And I just love how the music and the lyrics and the vocal presentation interact. The music underneath it is more jangly, but playful. It's just so, God damn it, what a good song. I mean, I want to listen to this record. I'm fired up. I want to get off of this, grab the record, and go and put on some fucking some Maiden. But Prodigal Son, I love it. I love soulful Diano. It's really a shame that he had such an awesome showing on the singles in these first 2 albums. I mean, I have one Paul Diano's Battle Zone record, and it's okay. It's just okay. He just couldn't find his place after it. Yep. He went from, kind of glammy stuff with that Battle Zone to, tough guy shit to, I don't know. He just could never, now he's just doing Maiden covers with a backup band wherever he goes. And I know a guy's got to eat. What are you going to do? But man, it just goes to show that Steve Harris and the band knew there's no way that Diano was going to go the distance with Maiden. There's just no way. And it bums me out because he was so good when he was on these first 2 records, he was on, man. It was so good. He left a humongous imprint on metal, and cheers, Paul Di'Anno.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, man. I would love nothing more than when Maiden decides to throw in the towel, which seems to be every year, but it doesn't happen.
They're starting to talk about it more and more.
Yeah, when they finally do the last go around live, man, I would love to see Paul out of the wheelchair and on that stage with them for a couple tracks. I mean, I would just, it kind of like the same thing that happened with Kiss. They did their farewell, and there was no Ace or Peter appearances, which was a shame. But man, to see, Maiden and to have Paul just come out and do, a couple Paul tracks with them.
Or close the damn set, close it with Iron Maiden, have him come out and sing Iron Maiden. Wouldn't that be something? Have him and Bruce do it?
Together, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I think the fans
seal the deal.
I agree with you, Duane, and I think the fans, it's like with the Kiss thing with Peter and Ace. We all know that it would have been a train wreck. I mean, if you watch, I watch Ace stuff live. He's rough, man. He's rough. His playing is crap. I mean, he's never been a great guitar player, but he was really good. He was like a big influence for me to start playing guitar. I love the fact that his solos were like little mini songs in the song. Mm-hmm. But I mean, now he just doesn't care. And he's even admitted, he's like, I'm sloppy. He's like, I should have practiced more, but I don't. And, it's sad. And, you prop up Di'Anno on that big ass stage. People know that it's not going to be perfect, but it's kind of the cool, right thing to do. I don't know. Anyway.
Man, the first Fractured by Ace, still gives me goosebumps when I listen.
I love the Ace Frehley solo album. That is great. And someone, Zoller sent me one of his Spaceman, I think was the name, one of his comeback albums, and it's solid. When he's with a producer and auto-tune and all that shit, it's great. And as I've gotten older and realized that some of the stuff that I thought was Ace Frehley playing was actually Bob Kulick, that kind of pissed me off just a little bit, but whatever. Anyway, we got off tangent there.
That's okay. But and to put a pin on it, finally, to prove what a gentleman Marty really is, everyone should notice that he very discreetly did not bring up Paul's Gog Magog project. Because
Gog Magog's not that bad.
I don't know that I have not heard. I don't know if I've heard
we need to have an intervention, Duane.
It's not that bad.
It's illegal. It's immoral. It's something, but it's fun.
It ain't Maiden.
That's for sure. It ain't a lot of things.
Gog Magog. I have not heard that one.
You're that is because in a former life you saved several kittens from a burning monastery, and now you are being rewarded.
Okay, I'll take it. I need all the help I can get. All right, Duane.
Number 12, I think.
Okay, so I'm going to still play in Power Slave for a minute here because one of Maiden's most important tracks ever written, I believe, and one of the best. Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and very important track because this was the first track that any metal band said we're gonna break the 10-minute threshold on a song here, and we're gonna stretch this mother for 13 minutes, and they did it in a way that, especially as live material, is amazing. I still love to see the old, version of Live After Death when they play this live, and just the feel of the smoke on the stage that's like fog, and just in the drop of the song, it just takes you on a journey. The song takes you
high
on
compositional concept. It's great.
Yeah, just amazing. And I remember it being a big deal when this came out, and everyone was like, wow, can you believe they did a 13-minute song? Now their albums now are, wow, can you believe they did 10 13-minute songs?
Can you believe they did a song that was under 13 minutes?
Right, yeah. But back then, this was a big deal. This was, and up to this point, I don't think they broke anything over 8 minutes, so it was a big deal in its length. And again, though, it's so good. There's so many highs and lows in this song. I love the bass playing in that drop. I love just the bass in here. It's such an atmospheric track that you don't feel like you're hanging for 13 minutes. It doesn't feel that long. It just really doesn't. So huge track in their history. Amazing song. So much so that I think that's part of Maiden's problem is they always tried to recapture the magic of Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Ah, interesting.
Okay. Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner is another long one. Great track. But it seems like they've always tried to go back to that. We had such success with that. Let's try it again. And it's never happened.
It was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
It's where concept met lyrical concept. It was like, even someone, Tyler in here said that, it was great on Live After Death. The whole, where the do, you felt like you were on a boat in the middle of the ocean with no rain coming down, no waves to propel you forward.
the wood, of the ship.
Perfect.
Creaking, and it's just amazing, man.
And they just never could get that high concept to translate to, you do it once, like I said, it's lightning in a bottle. It isn't going to happen every freaking time unless you're.
And then when it picks back up, in the bass, it's like the sun coming out, right?
Yep.
And breaking the fog up, and then it picks back up and go. It's amazing song, song. I get goosebumps just talking about that.
It's fucking awesome. Perfect.
So, so 13 minutes, and that's why I picked Ides of March.
I see your plan.
Yep. Well played.
Yep.
Yes.
So, Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
All right. Alan.
Yeah, I wanted that one in the list. I would have had to have, chucked 2 other songs for it, so it didn't make the list. But and if I did include it, it would have been, yes, the Live After Death version, which you guys described it perfectly. And let's be fair, that song also, the way Bruce introduces it is the most non-epic way possible. Where it's just like, and this is what not to do if your bud shits on you.
Yeah.
It sounds like, what? And then they manage to build, it's almost like he dug them a hole to start in, and they still managed to, make it that incredibly grand.
Yep.
But yeah, much as I would have wanted it, in terms of time, I felt like I would leave it off. So number 12 for me, this is the one song I've got way out of chronologic order. I'm going back to Number of the Beast for one more track.
Thanks, Jake. You're too kind.
Oh, thank you, Jake. Yes, really appreciate it. And so, yes, I'm following my same pattern. I've had Aces High and 2 Minutes to Midnight, more energetic songs. So it's time for, one of maybe the slower epic songs. And for me, this is where I've got Hallowed Be Thy Name. Everything Duane said earlier is true, and it absolutely is on my list. The only reason I bumped it way down here in the list, it has nothing to do with favorite or least favorite. I didn't want it and Children of the Dam back to back in the middle of my playlist, just because those songs have a little bit of a similar feel to them, being the much slower, moodier, kind of sadder songs in a way. And having those back to back seemed like it would be an odd way to fill out the middle. So I kind of looked for another place in the track list to put it. It was like, okay, I've had, a couple of good rocking tunes here. Now let's slip in, another one of those, bigger, epic ones. Yeah, arguably the best song Iron Maiden ever did. And we're talking about a band with, hell a lot of great classic songs. And that one, it's really hard to argue. Some of the live performances they've done with that one are absolutely off the charts. Had to be on the list, and it is on the list right here at number 12. So yeah, Marty, what is the 1,000th track on your playlist?
I was wrong. I was able to save another track off of Seventh Son, and that is The Evil That Men Do.
Oh, nice.
I always love that song. It's got a proggy vibe to it, kind of I don't know, but Love is a Razor and I Walk the Line on That Silver Blade. again, he nails a feel that fits so perfectly with the verse riff. It's so good. And when it gets into the chorus, it all just works. When Bruce is on fire, I don't necessarily love Air Raid Siren Bruce. I just don't. I like it when he's singing. He's singing in that soulful zone, because he can nail the feeling. But yeah, Evil That Men Do. It's a great track. We're getting a bit longer here. What is it? It's I don't know. It's a 4-minute 35. I tried to. Man, I had some long songs. We'll go at the end here talking about what didn't make the list. That was on the list initially, but had to be cut. Yeah, I cut a bunch of longer ones that I wanted on there. But, yep, Evil That Men Do. Great song, great feel. I've always loved that one.
Awesome.
All right.
Great track. Yep.
Duane.
All right. So, Leaving Power Slave, Left Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. So now we get into Blade Runner Eddie and Somewhere in Time. And I'm going to go with Marty's pick off this album as well. I think it was Marty that picked Stranger in a Strange Land.
I did. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my pick as well. Great track. It's, I was kind of torn on this one. I almost wanted to go with Caught Somewhere in Time. But this is one where I went and listened to both tracks before I did, or when I was doing the list, because I couldn't decide which one I really preferred, and I really prefer Stranger in a Strange Land. So I wanted to include something off this album. It's the only track I have chosen off this album, even though I love the whole thing, obviously. But it's definitely one of their best cover arts ever.
Yes.
And it was a new turning point for the band. I mean, this was a new sound for Maiden, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple of years earlier, prominently displayed, no synthesizers were used in the creation of that album.
Right. Yeah. And, and so also this was the first time, Maiden had gone from the London Gaslight, Candlelight, Eddie in the alley, thing to, now we're down in hell scape with Number of the Beast and then, the Insane Asylum with Peace of Mind and then an Egyptian Pyramid and Power Slave. And now we're going sci-fi. Maiden hadn't gone sci-fi before,
Nope.
And so it was interesting to see that happen and have the keyboards come into play with that, which fits, really, if you think about it. So it was a really big turning point. And I remember that album coming out and just looking at it before I even heard it and going, at the store, just like, am I going to like this? I was really like, I just don't know what to expect, because to me, Maiden was that history and myth and, and I was all Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm like, I don't know if this is where I want my band to go,
Is this album going to fail its charisma check?
Yeah, but love it. It's a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of Maiden fans where this is their favorite Maiden album, and that surprises me. It's a great album. I've never understood how it could be a favorite out of this catalog, but there's a lot of fans of this album for sure.
There are. And it seems like it has grown over time. I feel like this album gets a lot more love today than it did maybe say 20, 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just the people I've talked to, and those time frames.
Just like all of a sudden, and I've always been a champion for X Factor. I love that album. I love X Factor.
X Factor's got some cool stuff.
I loved it the day it came out. Was it Bruce? No. Was I sad Bruce was gone? Absolutely. Did I love X Factor? Always have. But it seems like over the past 10 years or so, X Factor has been like born again. It's like I've talked to more people that love that album now. It just amazes me.
I can't say love, but I do like it. I do. I think it's of the two. Boy, the second one. The problem with Virtual 11 is the repetition of the chorus, the name of the album over and over. Not 4 times. Try 8 times. It's like fuck off.
That was the start of stretching out Maiden.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Alan.
All right, what are we at? Number. Oops, sorry, just punched the wrong button. We're on number 12, I believe. No, 13 already. All right, I promised one track from Somewhere in Time, and I shall deliver. And I picked Wasted Years. Kind of the single from the album, but it's a really well done song. Yeah, it does everything like you said, Mario. The Heaven Can Wait. It's trying to be kind of the quote unquote hit, but does everything wrong because yes, it runs that one line into the ground, whereas Wasted Years does everything right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one, it's catchy. It's got a good hook to it. It is upbeat. It just works incredibly well. As a standalone single from it, it's the song on the album for me. So yeah, I was a little surprised too. I mean, and I am on record repeatedly as not being a huge fan of this album. It's the one album from their classic run I can kind of do without, but I do like this track from it. And I would, like Duane said, I would be sad if the album didn't exist because it is probably the coolest cover art and has a lot of cool, like a lot of the singles and stuff have amazing cover art as well. So I love the art direction from this era. And I do like Wasted Years. It did make the cut at the end of the day. So I'll keep that one from this album before moving on. I don't have many tracks left, but yeah, I did find room to squeeze this in.
And they're words to live by. It's funny because it's kind of their, Bon Jovi would write those "Life on the Road is Hard" songs. And this is kind of one of those songs, but, don't waste your time, like
Searching
suddenly
for those wasted years.
Yeah, brain fart. I mean, it's true. It's true. It's getting older and looking back on maybe the miles you've traveled or all the things you've done and, the things you might have missed for making choices. And you can't worry about that because it's in the past. It's great. Great words to live by. Anyway, okay. I'm up to Brave New World. I was very excited about the comeback of Bruce. I saw this the only time I've seen Maiden was on this tour, and it was fantastic. They were great. I'm looking at the track listing, and I struggled. I really struggled. I wanted to pick Blood Brothers, but it's too long. I wanted to pick...
Fair.
I really like The Thin Line Between Love and Hate. Again, it's over 8 minutes long.
Ghost of the Navigator.
Ghost of the Navigator. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Wicker Man would have been an obvious pick because that was a great leadoff single for the album. It was energetic. Bruce is back. It worked fine. But I ended up Dream of Mirrors, another one. That's over 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
In fact, that was on my list. I cut it. But I ended up picking The Fallen Angel. It could be it's the end of our world, all the things we cherish and love, nothing left but to face this on my own because I'm the chosen one. It's a very lively chorus. It's great. It's a great song. And it's funny. I haven't listened to this album in a while, and you really start to hear... I really miss the Martin Birch era. He tightened up Maiden. This Kevin Shirley production, you listen to it, it sounds like it was recorded in a shed. I mean, it's kind of big and it's got a big live sound because that's how they recorded it. They hired a yes man. They didn't want a guy that put him to task. They didn't want to, no, Maiden, do it better, do it better, do it better. There was no more doing a screen for a whole afternoon and then picking the first one. But it loosened up Maiden. Maiden's got more of a sloppier sound to me. It's still Maiden. It's still great. But just hearing, going through, listening to all this stuff, picking my tracks and hearing this, there's a definite change here. And moving forward, it isn't for the better. Their songs start to get longer. They start to get a little less exciting. They start to get a little more convoluted and repetition and other things. I don't know. It's just a whole nother platform to talk on. But I picked The Fallen Angel. I think it's a good song on a really good album. It's a great comeback record. The production notwithstanding. Duane.
Yeah. I can't help but think, we talk about the really long ones and whatnot. And one that I just don't, to this day, I just can't seem to get into is Empire of the Clouds. And I
I like that one, but it's long. It's a journey.
Which one? I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. Which one you say is long?
Empire of the Clouds.
Oh God, yeah.
Bruce's, about the
Tribute to Flight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. But yeah, what was that Jake was saying about the wanting the Eddie
The belt buckle. Yeah.
For?
Guilty.
I know where you can get one. Let's see. So this is going to be track 14.
That would only dig into my fat shelf that's right above it. A long car ride, a fucking belt buckle like that digging into your fucking fupa. No thanks.
Yeah, I could show it to you after I lift up the spare tire.
Got to change the tire first before you can see the spare. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that was something else about Maiden too, man. They had that whole, the wrestling boots and the laced up to the calf. They just had it.
The socks.
They look like the Freebirds or something.
Yeah, socks and spandex.
Socks and spandex. Yep.
Sweat wristbands and
Just replace Morton Birch with the Mouth of the South, and you're all set.
Right.
Okay, so track 14, and this is my final track that I could fit in.
Oh no, I got 2 more. Yep.
I got to 15. I didn't get. No, I squeezed in a 15th. But okay, what you got for your? How are you going to close this out?
So this one is a 9-minute and 52-second track, so not quite as long as Rime of the Ancient Mariner. However, again, like I was describing with that, it is such an atmospheric masterpiece that, again, also live is very similar to how they pull it off. And if you saw this tour, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if not, watch the Maiden England tour. But it is the title track of Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. This is an amazing song. It is very similar. I almost didn't include it because it is very similar to Rime of the Ancient Mariner in its feel, not its subject matter, but in its feel. But seeing it live just brought me into this song so much, with the big Eddie with the crystal ball thing and the giant candles that were flickering, and he's back with his hair, but he still has the cyber eye, and it just it's just over the stage, and just amazing song. I love the song. I love the story of the song. I love what it's about. And this would close out my disc. So Stranger in a Strange Land is at least between Rime of the Ancient Mariner and this one. So to give you a break, you're not just going from one long track into another one, but it's such a good song, and I wanted to include something off Seventh Son, and it's my favorite track on the album, so I was able to get it in there. But that is also where it stops for me. So for this compilation, I mean, it doesn't go beyond Seventh Son of a Seventh Son for me.
Mm-hmm.
It stops here. There's nothing after that.
Yeah, we'll look at some of those trends here in a minute, but yeah, there's going to be some some obvious gaps for some of us.
Yeah, and to me, that is pretty much the magic era of Maiden, is up to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Agreed.
If it came down to it,
yeah. Oh yeah,
everything after that, if it got wiped out of history and it never happened, I'm okay as long as I got everything up to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. It would be a shame, but I'm good with that.
That's fair.
Last track. So 14 tracks.
14. Good track list.
Yeah. Alan.
All right. Number 14 for me. I'm skipping ahead a little bit in the discography. So 13, I had Wasted Years from Somewhere in Time. For 14, I am skipping up a couple of albums, and I have Afraid to Shoot Strangers from Fear of the Dark. It's a little longer song, right around 7 minutes. It's one I've always really liked.
It's a good song.
Yeah,
it takes a minute to get going, but when it gets there, it's great. Yeah.
Yes, it does. It takes a little time to build, but I think it is worth. I think the payoff is worth the wait for that track. So I decided I would keep. This was another one. This might have been the last song I decided to keep, partly because of the length. It's like I could fit something else pretty good in here, but I did want something from this era. I was still very much into Maiden when this one came out. The album has its ups and downs. It's not perfect, but it's got some good stuff. I did want it represented with my particular playlist. So I decided I would keep Afraid to Shoot Strangers. I did squeeze in one more track after this. So, and this is where, like, I could have done this 14 songs, same as Duane. I would had to have cut this and my last song to squeeze in Rime of the Ancient Mariners. Like, I think I'll keep those two instead, even though it hurts to leave that track out. But I'll have one more track after this. But first, we got to see what Marty's got at number 14 on his list.
Yeah, I circled back around to Peace of Mind and lead off track Where Eagles Dare. Great song. It's weird hearing it so late in a track listing, but I love how tight and clean the production is. I love the energy in the song. I love Bruce's singing on it. He really does a great job nailing the story and fitting it in with the music. He was really, really super talented with that. So yeah, Where Eagles Dare is my, where are we at again? 14?
Number 14th.
Yep. And I got one more to go.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up at 15 apiece.
Okay. Duane's done. Are you out of bullets, Duane? Okay.
I shot my load.
Right on.
Marty and I did the Japanese version where you get a bonus track.
And I still came under 1 minute, so.
Oh, okay. So you wasted a minute. Wow.
Yep, I did. I wasted a minute.
I came in at 80 minutes exactly. So yeah, I put it right on the numbers. And my last track to close the album is Fear of the Dark. It's the other one that I think is essential from that album. It builds so well. Sound it's just such a good, quiet, creepy build with Bruce's vocals on that, and just a fantastic track. The only thing that bugged me here at the end of my track list, I do have 2 7-minute songs back to back closing out. The whole length of this, I've been spacing those out. I ran out of space. There was no way to space these 2 out. I wish I could have. So that's the only thing that irks me a little bit about the way this shook out. But yeah, that's the way it was. There were no other tracks I felt I would surpass these in terms of like splitting one of these up into 2 shorter tracks. It's like, well, no, I would rather have these 2 than any 3-minute plus 4-minute song I could come up with. So I close it with Fear of the Dark. I think it's a great album closer too. So it also kind of bookends this collection pretty nicely for me. And that's what I ended on. So we'll talk about trends here. I've been keeping a lot of notes.
For the band, for sure.
Oh yeah, yep. We'll talk about some trends. I skipped some strange things that we'll come back to. But first, let's find out, Marty, what is the closing track for your list?
I gotta say before, a petty thing that always bugged me about Fear of the Dark is I think it's on, was it Maiden? The last concert that Bruce did with Maiden was on that video with the magician on it, with the like doing the magician shock.
Oh, that was for No Prayer for the Dying tour.
Yeah. His version, the version of Fear of the Dark on there, his accent, he says Fear of the Duck. His accent sounds like he's saying duck. Oops. And I have not been able to unhear it. And I go back and listen to that album, and I hear, and he even says Fear of the Duck on the fucking album too. And it's just like, oh, it is something so stupid like that kind of ruins that song for me. It's still a great song, but man, it bugs me. I cannot.
That would mess. Yeah,
it messes with me.
A little Easter egg that won't help you any. If you look carefully in the shadows of the tree on the cover, yes, I mean obviously Eddie is there.
Howard the Duck.
In the brain, if you have to get the special edition version.
Oh, yeah,
it's like the gatefold and unfold it, and up there higher in the branches is the digger duck outlined.
Right.
So yeah, but you have to look at it in a mirror to see it.
You have to have it upside down in a mirror, and you will see the digger duck. So you have a good reason to be afraid of the duck.
Fear of the Duck. It bugs the shit out of me. I can't unhear it, and I hear it in every iteration of that song. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna wrap up my album.
I got a song like that too. I just have to say this real quick. I don't mean to cut you off.
Please, no.
Since we're on the subject, You know how somebody will say something like that and then it ruins it for you?
Yeah.
You know? So you remember that song, Rock Me Amadeus?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I
Falco.
had a friend that told me it sounds like he says, what's it? Something like hot potatoes. Oh, hot potatoes instead of Amadeus, Amadeus. And dude, I'm telling you, you listen to that song and say that, and that's all you'll ever hear
Yep.
again.
Hot potatoes, hot potatoes. Yep. Yep. Raising Hell's the name of that VHS. I have it. I just haven't watched it in 1,000 years. It's very, very.
Raising Hell. That was the No Prayer for the Dying tour, and it's
Yep.
Bruce all in leather, and the magician that cuts him in half or takes his head off or something. And
Yep.
it was a real live one and a real dead one's the soundtrack for it.
Yeah. Richard Blade, was that the name of the magician? I want to say something like that. I don't know if that's right. Anyway, scratch that. I don't know. But okay, my last track. I like ending with a banger. I think bands, when they finish their album, they should start strong, end strong. But I felt it was good to put a bow on this comp with, I picked Wasted Years. Like I said, I like the message.
Okay.
I think it's it's a hit single for the band, but I always loved the message. I always loved the feel of the song. I always thought it was a very emotional, thought-provoking.
Cool, and I see how you did that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I had to put a nice bow on the thing, and that seemed like, Bruce up there towards the top of his game, and what a great song. Great song off one of my favorite Maiden records, Somewhere in Time. So I got 3 tracks from Somewhere in Time on here. I wanted more, but that's what we got. But yep, Wasted Years. Put a nice bow on this mess I made.
All right. So yeah, there's the track lists. Now let's look at these and see some things that happened. The first thing that's pretty obvious: no Blaze Bayley tracks.
I had some. I had 2.
Right. What would you have included if there had been room? Which 2 would you have included, Marty?
Man on the Edge and the Klansman.
Okay. Duane,
Lord
any
of the
that almost
Flies.
made the cut for you?
Lord of the Flies.
It's a
Lord
good
of the
song.
That would be a good pick. Yep. Yeah, and I'm looking over. Like I had my big, original brainstorm list. I didn't have any Blaze tracks. There were a couple of things from X Factor that could have. Like Marty said, I like that album. There wasn't any individual song that stuck out that I was going to have on it, but it would have been something from X Factor.
God, he was just such a weird pick for Maiden. His tracks he does fine on. He's got a weird voice, but a good voice. But you just knew he was going to struggle with those Bruce. And he did. As much as they toured, it was their lowest point, too. They're touring theaters and clubs in the U.S. They're not playing stadiums anymore. And they're touring a lot. And it just destroyed his voice. He could not do the Bruce shit. And you got to have a guy that can maybe go his own way on his material, but be able, like Bruce. Bruce can do the Deano stuff quite well. It doesn't sound that far out of range, but Blaze, man, night after night trying to sing those higher ups, no way. His voice just wasn't cut for that. Just wasn't.
Yeah, and that's just one. I mean, this is one. I think if I was in that position and auditioned and actually got it, I don't think I would have took it.
I wouldn't have auditioned. I'd be like, man, I just don't fit. I don't fit for this.
There is no, when you think about it, he was stepping into shoes that absolutely could not be filled.
Well, Kiska could have done it. Ralph Sheepers could have done it. Oh, come on.
Could have sung it, sure, but could fill the role of Bruce Dickinson in Iron Maiden, that magic spot. Just, I don't think it's like Ripper Owens and replacing Halford. It was never going to work. He can pull it off, but it was never going to stay. It was never going to work. He was never going to fulfill that spot. Just like Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth. And Sammy Hagar's the better singer. He's a way better singer, but there's Van Halen fans that just would never accept that as, I think the only one that really ever pulled it off and actually claimed the role is AC/DC.
Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson, and a completely different singer,
But you listen to that Geordie stuff. He sings nothing like he did in AC/DC because he was trying to imitate Bon. And
But I don't think-
eventually, long run, it fucked up his voice. He struggled with it. It just happens with age,
Yeah.
I just don't think. I mean, even like you say, Kiska, yeah, he could probably pull off the songs and whatnot, but he never would have been Bruce Dickinson. There was just
He wouldn't have been the theatrical type.
yeah,
The showman.
he's not the same kind of front man.
Yeah,
at all.
not the same kind of front man. Agreed.
Yep. So let's see, another thing to notice. We all obviously focused a lot on the early catalog. Nobody picked anything from No Prayer for the Dying. That's the first album in their discography that we all skipped.
I did pick one, but I had to kill it.
Is there anything what would have made the cut? How close was anything from that?
Tail Gunner.
Tail Gunner almost made your list? Okay.
I love that song. Even though it's just a Maiden by Numbers Maiden song, I still like that song.
Let's see. Duane, anything from No Prayer on your radar even for
What
this?
I would have
not?
picked is probably everyone's least favorite track, but I love the track I always have, and that's Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter.
Oh my God, I hate that fucking song.
I love that song.
That's a Bruce song. I hate that song. Oh my
Love
God.
that song.
No.
Okay.
All right.
I did put I put Holy Smoke on my original list if I was
It's a
going to
fun
have something
track.
from the album. Tail Gunner's also a fun one. I think Holy Smoke's a little better, but neither made it. So that was the first album that we all completely bypassed on it. In terms of everything up through Seventh Son, I'm looking at the lists. I think everybody picked something from every album except me. I did skip Seventh Son and went to Fear of the Dark. So I don't have anything from Seventh Son on my list. The reason for that, I'll keep it brief. I love that album a ton, but that album for me, all the songs fit together. I mean, there's kind of a concept going on, and it's got an amazing track list where things flow together so well. When I started trying to pick it apart and thinking which one or two songs I want, I realized this album is greater than the sum of its parts, and the parts are really good. I couldn't find a song where I wanted to hear just that one song. It's like, if I hear that one, I want to hear the song before it and after it also. But I can't cram, the entire side A or side B of this album on here. So I took the slightly immature route of deciding, if I can't have the whole album of Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, well, then just burn it to the ground and I'll pick some other songs instead. Instead of torturing myself and trying to figure out which one or two to pick, I decided I would just skip the album and keep some other cool tunes instead. But that's the only instance where any of us skipped an entire album before No Prayer for the Dying. We obviously didn't focus much on the later catalog. Me and Duane in particular did not do much there. What were some of the newest Iron Maiden songs that y'all considered, but obviously didn't make the cut? So, Duane, let's start with you. Any newish or stuff that you would have liked, but just not room for it in this context?
How newish? I mean,
I would. I just If was there anything from say the last 3 albums that would have made it?
Last 3 albums, maybe Stratego. I don't know, because I'm thinking even to go to a double disc, there's still so much I would have picked before anything off the last 3 albums.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair.
I don't know. It would have been the last thing I'd be looking at. I can tell you that out of the last 3 albums.
Mm-hmm. How far back would we have to go before there would have been an album you're like, yes, I would definitely have worked a couple of tracks in from fill in the blank album? Do we have to go back to Dance of Death or?
Probably. Dance of Death to me is really, if I were to continue, past Seventh Son, I would go up to Dance of Death, and then it just really changes after that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I still love the band. They're my favorite band, right? And
Sure.
I like every album, but there's a turning point in that band where things changed. The way they structure their songwriting, everything just changed. And it's after Dance of Death.
It's like it really. Let's be honest. It's like they said everything they needed to say and had to say within their creative repertoire up to Dance of Death, and after that, they're reheating it, reheating, and doing less work in the songwriting department. Their songs are getting longer, more boring. They're doing less inventive, cool. I mean, you got 3 fucking guitarists in your band that are all great. You should be doing more with it. Other than filling in the parts here and there, you should be doing more with that talent. You got one guy that is the lion's share of the songwriting, which is Steve Harris. Obviously, he tapped out with his stuff. He's just trying to recreate past glory. This is just my opinion. You know, people can say whatever, but I don't know. That's just kind of how I see modern Maiden.
I'll be honest. I think the 3 guitars is the problem.
Yeah.
I honestly do. I think, you know, having the 3 guitars, I think, is discombobulating the band.
That in that case, but look at what Halloween did. Halloween on their new album, it's not that way. And live, the way they slice it up, it works so well. It really does. Where there's those twin guitar leads, Sasha's playing the chord progression underneath, where before live, that wouldn't have happened. They do that in Maiden too, but it doesn't translate to their albums. They don't do,
but I'll
Halloween
be honest,
does cool shit. Maiden doesn't do it, you know?
Yannick Gers, though, to me is not a phenomenal guitar player.
Yeah.
Never has been, in my opinion. He's a good guitar player, but he's a showman. He's not much of a writer or, you know, I think, you know, when it was just Dave and Adrian, you know, there was a magic there, like there was with, you know, KK and Glenn and Priest. And
Well, they come at different ways. Dave was an improviser, whereas Adrian, he came with his solo prepared, and you can tell the difference when they're playing solos, you know, which is cool. I love that dynamic. It's very cool.
Yeah, every time I see Maiden, I see him every tour, and I just, the more I see Yannick, the more I just get bothered by him. I'm like just does the same thing. I want to keep throwing the guitar around my shoulder and spinning and pretending like I'm playing an amazing solo when I'm not even playing. And I don't know. He just annoys me.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, now given he has a right to be there. I mean, I'm not saying anything about that, but I think it's too much. He doesn't need to be there. I think Maiden has grown. They've bloated themselves, basically. You know what I mean? And so, like I said earlier, up to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son was like the magic time of the band, and then everything after that, it just kept ballooning, and I don't know. You know, I still like it, but it's not as magical as, you know. I'm not going to be, you know, listening to Senjutsu or, you know, whatnot 20 years from now going, oh, I still love that album, you know, like I do, you know, everything else.
I think a lot of people when that record came out justified liking that record, or they say they like that record to justify the insane price they paid to get it. I just paid $40 fucking dollars. Yeah.
But it's not good it's good in it's a different era.
Yeah, that's fair. It may have to be approached, you know, in a very different way than, you know, we're used to approaching Maiden albums. Let's see, Marty, were there now you were the only one of us that did kind of venture into 21st Century Maiden with a couple of songs. Were there any others from that later part of the catalog that were kind of on the bubble for you and didn't quite make it?
The last Maiden record that I liked and listened to quite a bit when it came out was A Matter of Life and Death. And my list had For the Greater Good of God, which I think is the best song on that record. The song is too long. I mean, it was on my list. It was one of the early chopping block because it's a long song, and like all the songs on that record, that's the problem. That album is 3 songs too long. It's the songs themselves are too bloated with parts that really, they go somewhere, but they don't go somewhere that I care to go. You know what I mean? They're not exciting. It's Maiden doing Maiden things, but it's just not, it doesn't excite me where they're going. But that song, I like the feeling that Bruce has in the vocal, and the chorus itself, the way it sits in the music, and the music itself is kind of engaging. That track of that album would have made my list if it was an endless Maiden, if we had an endless time space. What about you, Alan? That was the only one from that whole era, though. After that,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, I had 3 from Dance of Death that were on my original brainstorm list. I had Rainmaker. I know some folks in the chat had mentioned that one.
I think Tim did, actually. Yep.
Tim mentioned was one of them. Yep. New Frontier and Passchendaele, which I know you mentioned at some point. Marty.
Yeah, I had New Frontier on my list, and I had Passchendaele, but I had to cut it.
Yeah. I didn't find room for them.
Track.
I'm sorry, what, Duane?
I love the title track.
The title track's also good. Yep. Yeah, I didn't. None of them made my my list. After Dance of Death, there's a song here and a song there. When I was just originally brainstorming, I thought maybe Different World, maybe The Red and the Black. There were at least ones like those are good songs from those albums, but none of them made it past the original list. One problem with it is something you mentioned when you were going through how you picked tracks from Brave New World, Marty. I didn't pick anything from Brave New World. I looked at that album really hard because I like that album. I think it's a good comeback album. But like you said, it's like, oh, that's a good song. Oh, that's 9 minutes. I don't have room for another 9-minute song. Well, maybe this one. Oh, yeah, that's 8 minutes. I just don't have room for another 8-minute song. Like we've talked about from the beginning, Maiden has a lot of good longer form songs. And in a format like this, you can only fit so many of those in. I couldn't find a song from Brave New World that I liked enough to replace something like Afraid to Shoot Strangers. Because I would have picked, if there'd been maybe, one of those songs had been pared down to 4 or 5 minutes, I might have found a way to squeeze it in. Maybe I would have cut Wasted Years and put that in, or cut, 2 Minutes to Midnight and put that in. But yeah, when you get into 21st Century Maiden, the length of the songs, becomes a real constraint for this project. Yeah, it just does. Let's see some other trends. Which album? I'll have you all guess. Which album did we pick the most different songs from total? So, like, which album has the most of its songs represented?
I'm gonna say Killers.
Duane, what would you say?
I did 2 off Killers. I'm going to say I don't know.
Man, it's probably Power Slave. I'm going to take my answer back and go Power Slave. I got to pee. I'll be right back. Oh my God.
Okay.
Which album did we pick the most songs off of altogether? Was that what you were saying?
Yeah, so like if we look through the track list and be like, oh, we actually picked 7 songs off of this album between the 3 of us, whereas we didn't pick more than like 5 songs off of that album, or obviously some albums we picked none from. So yeah, maybe which album has the most complete track list on here? Marty's going with Power Slave. See what the chat's voting here. Falafel says Power Slave. Tony said Number of the Beast. Somebody had Peace of Mind right before that. I just missed that comment. Frosty says he thinks Number of the Beast was pretty diverse for us.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm going to go with Beast. Yeah.
Beast. Let's see. I'll wait till Marty gets back to do the big reveal. But yeah, let's look at some of the other ones from this. We all had stuff from Somewhere in Time, but there was a good amount of overlap there. Wasted
I think
Years.
It is Beast or Power Slave, one of those two, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, for Somewhere in Time, we had 2 people picked Wasted Years, 2 picked Stranger in a Strange Land, and then Marty also had Loneliness, so the Long Distance Runner Reptance. We only had 3 from Somewhere in Time. We had 3 from Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. You picked Seventh Son, Marty picked Evil That Men Do and The Clairvoyant. And I skipped that album out of spite because I couldn't have the entire album front to back. So yeah, we're taking a look at that, Marty. Marty, your first instinct was right. Killers. We picked 7 of the tracks off of Killers between the 3 of us.
Like I said, that album could have been the whole album. If that was if someone held a gun to your head and said, pick one Maiden record, and that's the one you have the rest of your life, the rest is shot into space with Aerosmith and all the other bands that suck. And it would have been Killers, 100% Killers.
Yep. But yeah, we picked Twilight Zone, Innocent Exile, Prodigal Son, Ides of March, Killers, Wrathchild, Murders in the Rue Morgue. So we picked 7 tracks from the running list on that one. Let's see. The most songs that any one person picked from any one album. We obviously know a lot of us picked, 2 songs here, 2 songs there. Who spent the most time on a given album? Me, you, or Duane?
Oh, I gotta say Marty on Killers for sure.
See, I can't vote, but yeah, Marty. Without looking at your own list, did anybody spend more time on an album than you spent on Killers?
I would say Duane was on Number of the Beast for a while.
Okay.
Great.
Yep. But yeah, Duane is right. Marty's got 4 from Killers on his list. Nobody else has more than 3 from an album.
I even had Remember Tomorrow from the first album on there. And I had Twilight Zone. I had a non-album track. So
yeah. Actually, yeah, I just noticed. Actually, Marty, you don't have anything from the debut album on yours list.
No, I had Remember Tomorrow and I had to cut it.
And cut. Okay, got it. So yeah, I said earlier that none of us skipped any of the first
Was I
album.
the only
No,
one
you,
that picked
you
the
did.
B-side?
You were the only one to pick Number of the Beast, Duane. Yep.
No.
No, he
Pick a
said B-side.
Oh, yes, Duane, you were the only one that picked a B-side with Burning Ambition.
I was looking at I Got the Fire and
That's a good
another not Cross-Eyed Mary, another what the hell was the other one I was looking at? They're just really King of Twilight or King of Twilight. Yeah. Is that the name of the song? Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. That track. I'm like, God, this song ruled. I know it's a cover, but it's great. Maiden did a great job on. They can be a good cover band when they want to be.
Yep. All right. Who do you think had the most tracks overlap with other people? So which of us picked songs that one of the other people also picked the most?
It happened a couple times. Aces High was picked several times. Wrathchild was picked several times.
That Aaron and I both picked. Alan and I both picked Revelations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Both picked Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Mm-hmm.
No one else picked Flash of the Blade, which kind of disappoints me a bit because that song fucking rules. Fucking rules. Yeah, what a great song. That's it makes me want to listen to Nectar too, but I'm sure it's not as good as Iron Maiden doing Nectar. That girl's a good song too. It's a fun song.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah, there's no song that all 3 of us picked.
There's one song all 3 of us picked?
There are no songs that made all 3 lists. I'm double checking, but yeah, a lot of us. Yeah, there were a lot of songs that 2 people picked. There's nothing that all 3 of us picked. So yeah, there's no track that was ubiquitous across all 3 lists.
I picked Back in the Village.
Whatever. That is not all. There's no way. Flash of the Blade snakes 666 coils all over Back in the Village.
Aaron's definitely alone with Back in the Village, man.
I think he's just being a troll at this point.
Aaron is back in the village, and everyone else has deserted the village.
He's back in the village. He's back in the village. He's back in the village.
Hey, you know what they say? Every village has an idiot.
Let's see. Yeah, my list has the most overlap. There are 7 songs I picked that one of you 2 also picked. So I have the most tracks that overlap between Duane and Marty's lists.
Jeez, Alan, think for yourself for once.
You guys are just copying off my sheet. That's how I view it. Marty, your list is obviously the most unique.
Remember, I
because
went first, so y'all copied me.
Yeah, Marty, with you, Marty picked some more deep cuts and went later into the catalog than Duane or I did. So your list has the most unique tracks, Marty. But yeah, you were also approaching it wanting those in.
If
the
I don't
list.
want to sit and listen to the Trooper and Die with Your
Yeah, and
Boots
that's okay.
on, and I don't want to hear it live after death forever. The live after death hits. No,
That's all right. But yeah, so those were some of the main things that stand out looking at the list. Anything else that y'all are curious about or want me to try to tease out of our lists here?
I'm going to have to give that some thoughts.
what was your question? I'm sorry.
Was there anything else that y'all were curious about in terms of how things shook out?
Let's see. Everybody had Paul Di'Anno tracks, right?
Yes, Di'Anno definitely got represented well.
You got to, man.
Yeah. Marty had 4 of his 15. Duane, you had
here we
4
go.
of your 15.
Who had the most Di'Anno tracks? I guess.
I have the most Di'Anno tracks. I have 5 out of 15. Marty had 4 out of 15, and Duane, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, actually, we're tied. You had with Burning Ambition. You and I each had 5 Di'Anno tracks.
Hold on. Ides of March does not have lyrics, so it's
still Di'Anno era, so it counts.
It's Di'Anno era, but yeah,
it counts.
Yeah. We can include it, but no, that's true. You are the only one who picked an instrumental with Ides of March.
There you go.
Yep, but Di'Anno definitely made up a good about a third of everyone's playlist, so very well represented there.
Here's a question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
If you could add one bonus track
to
your disc, okay, the label likes you so much that they're going to pop for a bonus track on your disc. What track will you get to add as your bonus track?
That is a very good question. Let's look. I've got my 2 CD version here, so let's see what got scrapped for the second disc. And
let me reference my box set.
Should this be the song? I don't know, but I would put Man on the Edge. I think Blaze deserves to be on my list, on my thing. If I had a bonus track, it would be Man on the Edge. I think it's a great, energetic song. I think he really does a great job on that song. Like I said, once they got into Virtual 11, when he was just repeating the damn chorus over and over and over, it was, or the pre-chorus. Oh, terrible. It's so bad. It's lazy. Sea of Madness. Yeah, I pulled that off my list too, Mike. That could have been
there, yeah.
But I have 3 tracks from Somewhere in Time, so it's okay. It's okay. Can I play with Madness for David? Wasted Years for Tim's. I can't believe that didn't make your list, Tim. That's amazing. Did that song make all 3 of our lists?
Nope, it was not.
Didn't
on
make
Duane's
Dwayne's.
list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nope,
No song made all 3 lists.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep. I'm trying to think, Dwayne. My knee-jerk reaction looking at the ones I cut is probably Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, which is cheating a lot. But it's probably my favorite track that was left off. Other possibilities would have been, if I had to work something from Seventh Son in, if I had to pick just one and lose that one, I would have picked either Can I Play with Madness or Infinite Dreams. Remember Tomorrow is way up there because, like you said, I like those. I like those kind of more eerie, moody Di'Anno tracks. Also, I might have picked Remember Tomorrow.
I like the going from quiet to loud dynamic too. It's very planned and calculated, but it works for me.
Yeah, that was on my list for quite a while, so maybe that. But I think I would do Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner if I got just one more song. And we'll say maybe Remember Tomorrow after that.
Alan, did you say what songs that you would have cut that you had to cut from your list? Did you mention those? Because I might have been going to the bathroom when you were talking.
No, I didn't. But yeah, some that I cut. Let's see. Remember Tomorrow made it deep, but then got cut. Iron Maiden, the eponymous track. I liked that one, but it did not make the cut. Let's see. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, just because of time. I could not squeeze it in. Holy Smoke we talked about was on there early. That one got cut pretty early.
Yeah, that's a quick call. It's a fun
Yeah.
song, but that's
Yeah.
going quick. I see that.
Yeah, Be Quick or Be Dead from Fear of the Dark was on there. It's a good, short, punchy song, but
That's a good song.
again, didn't quite, measure up to some of the others. Some of the later tracks that did not make it. What do we got here? Let's see. Wicker Man
Good song.
was one I considered from Brave New World, but yeah, I didn't make it. I mentioned the ones already from Dance of Death. And then, yeah, a few of the later ones like The Red and the Black. That didn't quite make it either. So yeah, I mean, I could easily have. I had enough tracks to easily fill out another 80-minute CD and like everything that was including.
Oh,
so
sure.
I basically from like my brainstorm list cut a few obvious things, and I had about 160 minutes worth of tracks so I had to basically cut about 50% of what I originally thought would make a good playlist.
We really could have done 2 80-minute CDs, done a deep cuts and then a hits. It would have been interesting to see what hits we all chose,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right. But yeah, so those are some of the trends that have popped up here. Any other thoughts before we start to wrap this one up? Or anything else that
this was a lot of fun. This was a really cool rabbit hole to go down that I think could be done again. You know what I mean?
think we should do this. I think we should do this again. And I think it should be Halloween. Not that everybody's like, oh, fuck no. But I mean, we're all 3 Halloween fans here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a fun exercise.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Halloween would be good.
Well, Priest, you could do Priest.
Priest, yeah.
Halloween,
Blind
Slayer.
Guardian would be interesting.
Blind Guardian
for
would be
the
interesting.
three of us. Yep. So no, I think you could do with a lot of. The main thing is, of course, you have to have a band with a pretty long catalog to make it interesting, and people who are big fans of that band, so that they can really have to mull it over. But yeah, if folks have enjoyed this format, it's something we could definitely do for other acts in the future. Yeah, Mike's all on board for Halloween. I think very cool. Let's see, Overkill. Andy, we are planning an Overkill show maybe in June if we can get if our guest is available. We will probably be doing something for Overkill, but we'll probably be doing the discography because we have never done that one for Overkill.
And everybody in the chat tonight was given just killer feedback too. So.
Oh yeah. We got the best. We got the best community in the business, man. It's great.
Yeah.
We love all you guys out there.
Yeah,
fucking awesome.
It's a great community, and it's it's a band that is near and dear to all our hearts, and that people we know these tracks. They've known them their whole life. So.
Black Sabbath, Riot. I might have to sit out the Riot one.
Tony says Alan will pick 6 tracks from Chameleon.
Those
would be the first 6 tracks I cut from existence. Yes, absolutely.
Well, here's what I'm going to propose to all you dear viewers. I am going to make playlists. I've already got mine done, but I'm going to do Alan's. I'm going to do Duane's. I'm going to put them up. Heavy Metallurgy playlists. And I want to encourage you folks that actually spent the time making your own list to go on to Spotify and make your own playlist. Mark it Heavy Metallurgy Iron Maiden playlist, and share the link in the comments of this video. So if anybody wants to go and actually listen to your playlist, it's there. There's no guarantee people are going to do it, but you've already spent the time making the list. Go ahead, immortalize it on the Spotify, and I will make a community post when the lists are available for all of you folks to check out. I don't know if anybody will listen to it. We've talked about it for a couple hours now, but I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, it seems like you have a fun, different way for folks to engage with some of the Heavy Metallurgy content.
Yeah,
I think I'm actually going to keep this.
Oh yeah, and check it again down the road.
I'm just going to keep it just because it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Too.
It doesn't, Glenn. It doesn't have to be Spotify. Whatever social or digital streaming service you use that offers that easily constructible. My kid showed me how to do the playlist thing. It is pretty fucking easy. So, yeah. something fun, a little more interaction. And
I believe Twilight Zone's not on there.
it's so stupid, dude. I can't believe it. So yeah, my list is missing a very integral part. My number 2 track, Twilight Zone, will not be on my list because
If Burning Ambition is on there and Twilight Zone isn't, I'd be surprised. So.
I wonder if Burning Ambition's on. I'm going to do the best I can making the list. If there's some tracks that aren't on there, then it is what it is. But yeah, that's it. Duane, do you have anything coming up on your channel? It's been a little quiet. You've been a busy man.
I've been very quiet. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's been work, family, and life keeping me away. I literally get off work and I have time for dinner, and then I watch a little for sale action on YouTube. I catch Aaron sometimes. We chat at each other while doing that, and that's just usually right before bed. So it's literally like, man, it's been so tight for time. But I definitely have a lot of stuff in the works. I got to finish up my Blue Oyster Cult collection vid. I've got the vinyl portion to do, which is going to be a huge undertaking, but I got to get past that so I can move on to other stuff. I do want to mention, if I can throw something out, I know, Alan, you were talking about new releases and whatnot. I have to prop this because when I knew this was coming out, I was very on the fence on how I felt about it. It's one of my favorite bands, and I was like, I don't know if they should be doing this. How's it?
Oh, I know. I was going to ask you when we got off what you thought. I know which record you're talking about. Go ahead.
Okay, so I got it, and I am overly satisfied and happy about it.
Really?
That
okay.
is the New Warlord.
Oh, yes. I have not heard anything about it yet.
New
So please.
Warlord is out, and it's an amazing record.
I've heard now from you that it rules, and I heard from Ben that he thought it sucked. So I'm interested to hear it. I'm interested to hear it.
The big reason I was on the fence is, I mean, Bill Samus was the key to this band.
He is the band. He was the band. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, how can they do this? It's not going to sound like Warlord, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how they did it, but the writing is so Bill Samus. It's that medieval bard sound that Warlord has that is, I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they captured his soul in that, but it's there. And I'm very happy with it. Very, very happy with it. I'm still soaking it in. But I would say if you're a Warlord fan,
who's singing?
Give it a chance, because I'm totally on board with it. I love it.
Who's the vocalist on that?
Vocalist name. Turn my light on here. Hold on a second. Giles Lavery. Lavery.
Huh.
And guitars is Eric Juris or Turris. It's either Juris or Turis. Bass keys, and of course Mark Zonder on drums. So, but yeah. So
it's kind of the same thing with the dudes from Manila Road. They just put out an album under the name Century, and I can't remember who the guitar. Wait a minute. Simon says, "Holy shit, Giles is Aussie. He used to work at Utopia Records here in Sydney. Huh? They got an Australian guy to fill in the position. Cool. What was I saying? Oh, Century. I just got their debut record. I kind of want to review it, but I'm so behind on shit. It feels like Manila Road. The guitar player they have kind of emulates the Mark Shelton vibe, but it doesn't sound exactly like Manila Road, but it's got Nudie on drums, the bass player, and of course Brian Hellroady Patrick. This sounds like the continuation of To Kill a King, kind of, but good record. I was impressed. I liked it. Yeah,
cool.
I love the old guard still kicking, man. As long as they can keep putting out good stuff, and it's tough when you're the visionary of the band passes, and that's kind of, I hate to say it, we're all us older farts. We're in the kill zone, you know. It's just the way. It's the way it goes. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, we are the endangered species.
We are. Yeah. Yeah. Alan, what you got coming up on Tuesday?
That's a good question. What did I?
You did something a
Prop
little
up for
different this
Tuesday.
past week. You covered some punk stuff, which is cool.
Yep,
And,
yep. Did a book
Oh, I didn't
review on
catch
the.
that.
Yeah, did a book review on Greg Graffin's autobiography that came out in 2022 from a little Bad Religion perspective. I had to load something pretty quick for this coming week since I was out of town for a good chunk of this week. But I guess we'll all be surprised because I do not recall off the top of my head what I put together. But got several that are in the works, so there'll be some cool stuff in the near future.
Danger Deep Dive coming up on Let's Talk Metal.
It's going to happen eventually, Frost. Yeah, there's some mid to late '90s stuff I haven't revisited in quite a while, so I'm a little rusty on that period of Danger.
It's okay, Alan. I like Danger too. So
Of
Man
course
of
you
War-
do. You're a man of great, refined taste and exquisite class.
Man of War would also be cool for this playlist episode idea for sure.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yep. That is a good idea. Nice call, Mike. Yep. Yeah, it's
Any of
something
the
we'll
German
work
bands,
them in.
too.
If folks are
Running
enjoying
Wild.
it, we've
Running
enjoyed it.
Wild would be fun. Creator would be fun.
Yeah, again, any of these bands with a long discography where folks can get really passionate
Motorhead.
about what songs to keep.
Even
what
some of the
songs to
simple
Motorhead
stuff,
would be interesting.
like AC/DC would be interesting because a lot of their stuff is so similar. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
Sabbath.
Sabbath would be hard. Sabbath would be very hard.
That would be hard.
Which would make it a very good one to do.
Right, because it'd be kind of like Maiden, because you got the different eras of
Yeah.
singers and
But there you have eras where a lot of people want a lot of stuff from those different eras. There's not going to be no one's going to feel too bad with Blaze not getting much representation, but you've got to have some of that Dio stuff. A lot of folks are going to want some of that Tony Martin stuff well represented. So
it's all going to be.
it
I mean,
gets
Sabbath would be. I mean, Ozzy,
it gets
Dio,
tough.
Martin for sure. I'm sure in the choice menu, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Mine would be high on the Dio. Mine would be high in the Dio. It'd probably be more Dio than well, it's hard to say. There's more Ozzy. There's more Ozzy albums than Dio albums, but man, Mob Rules. It'd be like the Killers thing. Put Mob Rules, the rest of it. A few other Ozzy songs, and that's it. Excuse me.
Yeah. So it seems to work well, and folks have enjoyed it. We'll definitely work more of these into the future show rotation.
Well, awesome. Again, everybody in the chat, make your playlist. Put it in the comments section so anybody who wants to check it out has the opportunity to do so.
Yep.
Duane and Alan, you guys are awesome. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
Oh, thank you for joining us. It's a busy time.
Don't hang up. Stay with us for a minute. And everybody, have a great Memorial Day weekend. Cheers. We'll see you
Peace to
next
everybody
week.
in the chat.
Later.